Good time zone. And a happy birthday to all of those around the world. OBS updated and changed the audio UI. And more specifically, made it so that the audio sources are not organized by alphabet anymore, which means that they are now unorganized for me. And when I change their name, it doesn't update or anything, so they just don't organize now. I don't know why, and I don't know. There's no other manual way to do it. So everything's out of whack, and it's throwing me off a lot. I don't know why they got rid of that and did not replace it with an actual way to mess with it. But whatever. We've got the remaining operator profiles to read today, except for two, Zhang and Levitan, because Levitan is I don't have her, so. But everyone else is ready to go. We probably won't even get to all of them. We shall see. Of course, we've got the next update coming soon. With but we won't start that till next week, since it's not going to come out until Friday, really. I haven't actually watched really the trailers for it, but I did look at the operators' skills, and it seems like the vampire boy actually might be pretty good for a Rossi team. So I might be interested in him. Mifu is just physical, and I never did end up making a physical team, so not as much interested in her. Shaders are taking a while today. So last time we covered what? We covered the rest of 8 of Z7 and then Alesh, I believe. Today we've got Rosie, Gilberta, Depon, Yvvonne, Zaihi. Snowshine. Whabam. Is there anyone else I'm missing? Probably. There's a high likelihood I'm missing someone else. That's interesting. No audio on Endfield, huh? It's just empty on OBS, huh? Whoops, that's not. Why? Why would it be empty? That doesn't even make sense. Does any of my other audio? The music was working, wasn't it? Yeah, that music was working. Does this work? Looks like it. Infield's just not going to work now. Why did I even update OBS? This is why I don't ever update it. There we go. I just have to make a new one, I guess. When in doubt, make a new one. Oh. Wait, I think it is working. It is working. It's just like really quiet now. Why is it so much more quiet? It was so quiet, OBS was blocking it. I don't know why. Okay. I'll have to monitor that. That's strange. Anyway, am I forgetting anyone else? Last Rite and Arclight. That's who I was forgetting. And Wulfgard. A lot of people. And Ember. I was forgetting a lot of people.
Still waiting for something?
But I do have a piece of lore that came up in Toast, I think. Snowshine's Toast Yeah. So, she says, those Terra peaks I saw in the forest. Gorgeous, sure, but something always felt missing. Seems pretty innocuous, but that is actually really interesting because it implies that the reconveners are conscious inside the Oranginium forest, and that the Oranginium forest has Terran geography inside of it as well. Very peculiar. Because we've seen inside before, and, you know, it's not, there's not really, I mean, the Doctor did see a fake version of Rhodes Island, and Gilberta saw all the stuff she saw, so there can be physical spaces. Both of those cases, though, they were being specifically formed by a person, right? So we have the Oranginium forest where the reconveners come from. The Oranginium forest is like a specific place that we know Warfarin discovered and went into and found the reconveners. That I guess we're just hanging out there in like a fake version of Terra or something. I don't know. But we have more. We have more context now for what that is like.
Oranginium will carve a path for us.
I guess we'll just work our way down the list.
The hour of bloodshed is
That'd be the
upon
simplest
us.
way to do it.
It's time to hunt.
So we'll start with Rossi.
I mean, it's
Expertise. Obviously, she's Lupo. Expertise. Clan diplomat. Being able to sniff out a scam is a dangerous talent for a child. Expertise. Conflict mediator. Rosie is tired of endless bickering, so she mastered the means of getting both sides to shut up. Hobbies. Fantasies of heroism. A weird-looking stone and sharp chisel have been selected. Now, who should this figurine look like? Yeah, she does stone carve things. Hobby. Game of the hunt. Tracking down a prey is a long process, but Rosie is very patient. No need to rush, for we are close to the scent of blood. Date of birth, March 10th. Oropathy positive. Standard physical strength. Standard combat skill. Excellent tactical acumen. Excellent Oranginium arts assimilation. Honestly, I thought she would have had higher combat skill. I'm actually also really surprised by her tactical acumen. No offense, but I did not expect that to be excellent. HR summary. Operator Rosie, full name Rosina Wolfpearl Lupino, is a member of a landbreaker clan known as the Pack. As one of the clan's representatives, she has entered a cooperative partnership with Endfield Industries. Rosie now serves under the Specialist Tech Division. Given the unique status of Operator Wulfgard, all collaborative affairs between Endfield entries and the pack are effectively focused upon Operator Rossi. Rossi is not a permanent resident aboard De Jong. She spends most of her time with the pack and handling clan affairs. However, locating her is far less challenging than finding Wulfgard. She is also quite receptive to participating in some of the Endfield Industries training programs. Evaluations from Little Dodge states exceptionally high tactical acumen, possesses considerable leadership charisma and battlefield command talent. Operator Rossi aligns more closely with public perception of what a member of the pack should be, devoted to the family, conforms to the code, and respectful of their elders. On her very first day aboard De Jong, she paid visits to nearly every department head as well as operators of considerable renown. Her well-mannered and conscientious demeanor left a strong impression on many. However, if you were to face her in combat, you shall witness an entirely different side of Rossi, razor sharp and utterly ruthless. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Rossi's observation notes: Nonno Rosen is always so quiet when he walks. Davvero strano. Okay, we're gonna need we gotta pull up a translator. Really strange is what that means. He's so tall, yet his footsteps are as light as if he were walking on a thick carpet. I've almost never seen him slip up. No matter where I hide, he always finds me. Every time I watch Nonno Rosen handle his gun, it feels like time just si ferma. Stops. That makes sense. Even the sound of breathing disappears. I don't know how long it lasts before he finally lowers it. I've never actually seen him pull the trigger. He just wipes the barrel down with a cloth, puts it back in its case, and that's the end of training. I've tried to imitate him a few times, but I can't hold the stance for nearly as long as he does. Catello's always in a hurry. Seriously, what's he so busy with? As for his training methods, annoyingly simple. Mind-numbingly boring strength drills mixed with a few sets of dynamic target practice or just straight to live combat exercises. Così no iso. Absolutely nothing worth learning from. Skipping this. So boring. Così no iso. Okay. Sorella Arclight. So her name's Sorella, and also her name is actually just Arclight? Sorella Arclight can move across steep cliff faces so quickly. Is it just a matter of pure speed? I asked her, and she said it requires some arts. She also meditates during her training. She says it helps her clear her mind of distractions. Staying completely still for that long is way too hard for me. Administrator. The Inman always adjusts to the pace of other teammates, so everyone can keep up, totally different from Catello. And the Inman's training is mostly about manipulating Oranginium and turning the rocks into razor-sharp weapons. How can anyone do that? Something only the Inman can do, I guess. No point trying to learn it. File 2. Coming of age. Within the pack, everyone's rite of passage is different. For some, it's completing a solo hunt. For others, it's closing a complex business deal. The pack doesn't seem worried about these youngsters messing up. They boldly assign critical matters as trials to the young wolves, a practice that would seem utterly insane to anyone outside the pack. As for Rosina, hunts and business deals, she already pulled those off at an even younger age. To her, they were just routine, so the pack arranged a special trial for her. They left the Rosina in a deserted village with only 5 luckless bandits for company. Those outlaws were desperate men, each already eyeing whatever meager means of survival the others had left, just waiting for a chance to stab each other in the back. The 5 of them kept each other in check, none daring to make the first move. But if that delicate balance was broken... But Rosina's first task was simply to survive the bandits. That wasn't enough on its own. Beast attacks were also frequent there, sometimes a lone predator, sometimes an entire group. The elder wolves dropped her off and left without a second thought. They seemed unconcerned whether she could survive in such an environment. When they returned to the village 2 weeks later, the sight that greeted them left them stunned. A fence had been erected around the village. The 5 bandits and Rosina were taking shifts on watch, vigilant against beast attacks. On days without raids, some of the 5 would go out hunting, others would gather fresh water. They had actually shaped into a proper functioning team. Those men once constantly viewed each other with suspicion. No one knows how Rosina got them to follow her lead. In her own words, she just made them understand the only way to survive. It was also worth mentioning that Catello went through the same trial. Well, he spent a few days killing all the nearby beasts, left enough food behind, then slipped away without anyone noticing. He only returned at the end of the trial. Interview transcript with Pack Associate Marco Wolfhowl Lupino. So they all have, like, this middle name that's very much just like a... I assume maybe self-made middle name. Like a nickname sort of thing. We got Wolfhowl, Wolfpearl. That sort of thing. I guess, yeah, they are showing she's got that tactical acumen. Game is good with the song Last Resort, and I don't know what that song is. File 3. The pack sent a tiny pup to talk. Did old Rosen and his crew kick the bucket or something? Rosie glanced at Eric, who was roaring with laughter along with his crew, and instantly lost any interest she might have had in the leader famously known as the Canon of the Wild Lands. This was Rosie's first time handling the clan's business. A week prior, a merchant convoy bound for the Lupino family had been intercepted by Eric. Out of respect for the pack's name, they hadn't dared touch the couriers, but a sizable portion of the goods meant for return had gone missing. With Catello absent from the clan at the time, Rosie had volunteered, eager to prove her mettle with this particular deal. But at that time, Rosie was starting to regret her decision. This trip was even less interesting than a hunting trip in home turf. The so-called Canon of the Wild Lands was wriggling his bulky, bloated body while slapping the table with his hand. From the moment she'd walked in, he'd done nothing but attempt to provoke her. True strength is reserved, unyielding, and never showing a crack. That was a lesson Rosie had learned within the clan. No one, not even Rosen or the elder wolves, ever boasted so crudely about their violence. Nonno Rosen told me this is business. From where I stand, every deal has one side that profits and another that takes the loss. Rosie's eyes swept across the tent. The scent of gunpowder drifted to her nose, and she pinpointed where the other side had planted the explosives. The amount was small. Clearly, killing her wasn't the goal. A live wolf seemed far more useful to them. The pack doesn't mind letting our business friends wet their muzzles a little. Unfortunately, I haven't passed my rite of passage yet, so I'm not a true member of the pack, and I only want profit. I don't do losses. Looks like the pack isn't planning to sit down and talk this out properly, eh? A flicker passed through Eric's eyes. The bandits around them grew serious, some already resting their hands on their weapons. 2 swordsmen, 2 axemen, and probably several casters lying in wait outside the tent. Judging by their positioning inside, it'd be tough to clear them out so quickly. So, having assessed the situation, Rosie toyed with a fork on the table, waiting for the right moment. Listen, from the very first day I set foot in this blighted place, someone's been blabbering nonstop in my ears. I assume that should just actually be ears. I can't do this. I can't kill that. I must follow the rules, the code of the pack. Eric's agitation grew. He stared hard at the girl who'd come alone. All these preparations were meant for Rosen of the pack, but the old man sent a bratty girl instead. Eric felt insulted. The code is written by those who are bigger and hold more power. Eric hefted his cannon. The pack prized their kin. Taking this girl hostage could prove far more useful. In a flash, a fork shot toward Eric. Rosie sprang from her seat and suddenly disappeared. Eric swatted the utensil away and raised his weapon to aim. Behave and be still. A dagger pressed against the back of his neck. The surrounding bandits finally drew their weapons, but it was too late. Stop, don't get any closer, Eric yelled, feeling a chilling prick of cold against the back of his neck. Counting on those casters at the door to bail you out? That's odd, it's way too quiet. Seems like Clan wrapped things up even faster than I did. What were you saying again? Oh right, the code. The icy tip of the blade seemed to press an inch closer. Do you understand what the code of the pack is? Rosie sheathed her dagger. Eric whirled around furious, all his planning ruined by a child like this. I gave the goods to the bone crushers. Try and take them back if you have the guts for it. Once they've wiped you out, I'll be writing up a new code for this turf. What did you say? A killing intent he had never felt before radiated from the girl standing before him. Eric didn't know the price of bringing up the bone crushers around this girl, but he was about to learn, and soon. Looking at the wrecked tent, Rosie couldn't help but sigh. Business is such a hassle. File 4. Three tolls of the bell sounded. One by one, the people at the gathering removed their hats and stepped forward to place fresh flowers into the cold coffin. Some wept quietly, others bowed their head in silence. Rosen scanned the surroundings, but he didn't spot the familiar crimson figure anywhere. The last of the elder wolves who survived the incident laid in a casket. He spent the rest of his days in pain. Though the bone crusher's haze ravaged his organs and their blades pierced his limbs, the elder wolf held on tightly to the swaddled young pup until he passed her into the arms of another boy. She's still not here. The words reached Rosen. He gave a slow nod and quietly passed the rest of the service over to another elder. He knew where to find her. Whenever she was upset, she'd lose herself in the training grounds and stay there until late into the night. Rosen watched the girl in silence. She noticed him too, but neither said a word. With one last fierce thrust, she drove her sword into the training dummy and collapsed to the ground. No one knew how long she had been pushing herself here. He's gone. Rosen approached Rosie where she lay gasping on the ground, his voice quiet and flat. I know. Rosie pulled her hood down over her eyes, but her voice shook uncontrollably. Ever since she was old enough to understand, she had visited the wounded old wolf every single week, so you could see that she was growing up strong and well. To her, he was the last living thread connecting her to those lost souls. You should have been there. He would have wanted you there. But it was because of me. He did it all for... Rosen hoisted her up and slung her over his shoulder before she could finish, carrying her toward the courtyard where the funeral was being held. I can't face him. It was all my fault. I don't want to... Rosie thrashed and bit against Rosen's shoulder. Her nails scraped his skin. Her teeth sank into his arm. Rosen's expression didn't flicker. He just kept walking toward the funeral. Soon, Rosie's strength gave out. She slumped against the Rosen's back, arms hanging limp. I didn't become the wolf the pack could rely on, Rosie murmured, unsure if she was speaking to Rosen or to someone no longer there. I never learned to stand on my own. I couldn't lead anyone. I haven't done a single thing right. I didn't deserve their sacrifice. Rosen came to a stop. The courtyard was empty now, save for the ashes of the burnt offerings in a solitary coffin. Inside, the elder lay peacefully, covered in flowers. Every time you came to see him, he'd always pull me aside afterward to talk. Maybe age caught up to the wolf and he never remembered what he told me. Just kept ranting the same stories on and on. Rosen sat Rosie down. He rested a hand on the edge of the coffin, gazing at his old friend. He'd always go on about the glory days, the few times we butted heads, but the details, those kept changing. One day he was the one who was messed up. The next it was me. The same story was told different every time. Only one thing he ever said never changed. Rosen reached over and ruffled Rosie's hair. Every single time, he'd say that saving you was the greatest thing he ever did. Rosie lowered her head. She took off the pale pendant from around her neck, the one the elder had given her, and placed it among the flowers. The coffin sealed. The young wolf never cried again. Surprised by how short these were, actually. Not a whole lot of direct information either. Maybe her dialogue will give us some more. I've noticed it in a few of the other characters. They kind of like to rehash like a central point about the character. I did that for her. She's pretty competent for her young age. She's taking over the pack. The last one was like, well, actually, you know, she's got some self-doubts. But that's pretty much the gist of it.
How does Endfield manage so many operators? Something about systems and some kind of central control. I can't figure it out, but it's definitely worth learning. The elder wolves from the clan told me to visit Dijang more often. They said I could learn about leadership here, especially by your side. But getting a chance to catch you is just so hard. The big brothers and sisters on Dijang always treat me like a kid, but I'm already in the lead of the pack. Next time, I'll make it clear to them, this has to stop. Though, the snacks they give me are really good. Clan affairs come first, but if anything urgent happens to Endfield, I'll definitely rush over right away. It's just, I'm not sure if you really need my help. You're so capable, you could probably handle crisis easily even without me, but I still want to be helpful. What should I do? I heard Catello could be found on Dijang, but why is so Sfuggente here too? Guess old habits die hard. If I can find him soon, Nanoratsan's gonna be furious. I really don't want to see him angry. Anmin, do you know where I might find Catallo?
Yeah, I've got him working away in the factory.
Why can't I find any records about you on Dijang either? I finally learned how to use this so-called Intel archive, but all I get are useless results or no authority messages. Anmin, do you have time to tell me about your heroic deeds yourself? Well, I'm just taking notes on your words and actions. I mean, I think even the details are worth learning from. Please don't look! These are personal notes. I've heard so many legends about you. I've always wondered what kind of person you'd be. But now that I've actually met you, I feel like you're even more admirable than the stories say. What exactly? Well, your methods, your leadership. I don't even know how to put it into words. Children of the Pack participate in the coming-of-age ceremony at 13. The clan gathers to choose a granted name for the new wolf. Catallo's name is Wulfgard, and mine is Wulfburn. I love the name the clan gave me. Every time I say it, I can feel the blood of the Pack flowing through me. What do you think of it, Anmin?
Well, there we go. So yeah, how their middle names work. It's a name bestowed upon them for their coming of age ceremony. That's why there's Wulfgard, Wulfpearl, Wolfhowl. So that's the trend there. Neat.
I've been doing pretty well on missions lately, right? So, could I maybe ask for a little reward? Nothing too fancy, just chatting with me more would be enough. Is that okay?
I wonder why they decided as developers to not give her for the game itself Wulfpearl as her like operator name. Because Wulfgard is Wulfgard. Marketing, I guess. I don't know.
I know I'm not skilled enough yet to lead the pack, but the elders insist I handle the clan's affairs. So I want to learn more by your side, Anmin. I want to learn how to become someone trustworthy like you, and Perlica, and I'm free. I'll make everyone see me in a new light.
Oh, well, there's a topic about her codename. Maybe that will explain it.
The big brothers and sister at Endfield have told me a lot. Perlica explained how protosyncs work, Yvvonne took me to TGCC's clothing and jewelry stores, and Zahi said she wants to discuss quadratic time and complexity with me. No so neanche che significa.
Don't even know what that means, is what she said.
The big brothers and sisters here all take good care of me. They even give me gifts. But I've passed the pack's trials. I'm a real wolf. Amateur wolf shouldn't like childish things. They should prefer daggers and coins. So I've collected plenty of those. Once I grow a bit taller, everyone can finally trust me with the most dangerous missions. I always thought Nanoratsan was the strongest person in the world. But he kept saying, there's always someone greater. I mentioned you all the time, Anmin. Later, I heard tons of legendary stories about you elsewhere. And I was like, wow, we actually got someone like you out there. I've always wanted to see what you're really like. Ever since I heard you woke up, I've been planning to surprise you one day. My first dagger was a reward after an emergency hunt. The box it came in was all shiny and golden. I've kept it safe ever since. This one is my favorite too. I always carry it with me, though it's not very sharp. Good mostly for cutting fruit. If you'd like it, well, I'll give it to you once I bring the box along too. About my childhood. The Pack was always caught in conflicts with the Bone Crashers. It was my brother who took me around seeking medical help. And the clan members also. Oh, I shouldn't be talking about this in front of you. Forget it, let's talk about you instead. I've heard that.
Putting that in right before the topic of the Inman is pretty clever.
Originum will carve a path for us. I was just practicing! Oh no, will you with me for this? I know learning from you isn't just about copying. I just thought it sounded really cool. As a pack member, I could use my Grotto name as a code name like my brother does, but I haven't really been called that by anyone outside the clan yet, so it might feel a bit embarrassing. And Rosina just sounds too childish. No way I'm using that. I ended up going with Rossi as my code name after the color of my cloak.
Well, there you go. Interesting that her full name she thinks is more childish than the nickname. Usually you'd think it'd be the other way around.
I won't let a single one of those Bone Crushers brutes get away. This is a blood feud between the Pack and the Bone Crushers. Too many wolves, too many family members died at their hands just to save me. This is the Pack's vengeance, and mine too. We are the clan that holds grudges longest in this world, and one day, we will settle this score.
I wonder what, because yeah, from there in the last profile file was also about this. Like there was an incident. A lot of people died, I guess, trying to save her. Was it actually just trying to save her specifically? Would they do that for anyone? Is she just special?
It's stained with the blood of my kindred. But to me, every time I touch it, I feel an incredible sense of peace as if they never really left. This cloak burns, reminding me never to forget the vendetta. But it also gives me courage and the warmth of family. Sì, li porto sempre con me.
Seems to mirror Textus. A little bit, perhaps. I was hoping that topic about the cape would talk about why it like moves. There's been no mentioning of her arts at all. I'd like to know what her arts are. I wish they would talk about that sort of thing more often. They've not really done that for anyone.
I used to keep all the daggers and coins I collected in a special treasure box, but I lost it during the move. What's worse is, it had some really embarrassing stuff inside. Crafts I made as a kid. It took me forever to find the box again. Now I can store everything safely on Dijang. Better yet, I can use storing things as an excuse to hang out with the big brothers and sisters here. No, I mean to study here. Everything people do in the wilderness is just to survive. Sometimes I saw kids my age doing terrible things just to get by. Sometimes even landbreakers took desperate risks simply to stay alive. I think everyone should be able to live by their own choices. I mean, can Endfield change all this? So those kids can pursue their dreams like I do.
Sure. Her Orlean thing, it doesn't say anything special. Most characters' Orlean dialogue doesn't say anything special. I keep hoping that maybe someone will say something more interesting. Well, that's Rosie. I guess we should skip to her brother and then go back down the list. Just for thematic sake.
Eccomi.
Expertise, solo. Wulfgard is always skilled at soloing and get things done, and prefers bearing various responsibilities on his own. A true lone wolf. Expertise, stealth. Hiding one's trail is a skill paramount for surviving in the wildlands. Wulfgard happens to be quite gifted in this. Hobbies. Wilderness scout. The wildlands is his hunting grounds. A qualified hunter is more than happy to be attuned to changes in the environment, be it ambient humidity, shifts in the wind, or at the cascading sounds of the flowing creek. Hobbies. Weapon modeling. Or modding. Modifying etched ammo might be a boring job, but he enjoys finding people to test them on. Date of birth, November 16. Oropathy positive. Excellent strength, excellent combat skill, standard tactical acumen, standard arts assimilation. So he's the exact opposite of his sister, okay. The Landbreaker's way of life has left its mark on Wulfgard. Each scar stands as evidence of past trials. Though the pain doesn't seem to weigh on him now, that may not always be the case. He must learn to approach missions with greater regard for his own life, or at the very least, to place more trust in his teammates, rather than charging in alone every time. HR. Operator Wulfgard, full name Catello Wulfgard Lupino, hails from a Landbreaker clan known as the Pack. As their appointed representative, he established a partnership with Endfield Industries. Recommended by Supervisor Perlica, he joined the Specialist Tech Division and now serves on the Crisis team. Wulfgard possesses exceptional observational skills and adaptability. As far as I know, he can handle most high-risk environments with ease. He clearly prefers to operate alone and excels at covert operations. However, he seems reluctant to engage in interpersonal matters, so for missions requiring teamwork, it's recommended that he be given as much autonomy as possible. Notably, test reports show that Wulfgard performs extremely well in both physical endurance and reaction speed. He is proficient with guns, adept at hand-to-hand combat, has a knack for turning any object, even a pin, into a weapon. I mean, turning a pin into a weapon is not the hardest thing. It's pretty straightforward. Perhaps his time in the wildlands has sharpened his instincts. Wulfgard has an acute sense for danger and a deep understanding of how to interact with frontier residents, especially when Landbreaker affairs are involved. I believe anyone who's ever partnered with him would agree. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. When Wulfgard first arrived at Endfield, his landbreaker background raised a few eyebrows. Some operators suspected he had hidden motives. But as the years passed, they discovered that behind the cold exterior and sharp tongue was someone surprisingly easy to get along with. He's always punctual, efficient, responsible, and thorough with cleanup. In many ways, he checks every box of the ideal teammate. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to enjoy working with others. Whenever he's required to submit a report, he always requests to be assigned to solo operations instead. It's getting out of hand over here. Let's try banning that and see what happens. On the other hand, Wulfgard has never been shy about sharing his insights into weapon modifications, which has caused headaches for Enfield's arsenal engineers. Many operators first met Wulfgard during one of the regular new weapon testing sessions, where they watched him coolly tweak a weapon right in front of its designer, then say it works better this way. This often left the engineers on the verge of losing their composure. Though this earned him a spot on the Arsenal team's unwelcome list, Wulfgard didn't care. He kept modifying every new weapon he got until it felt right to him. Quote, experienced hunters always select their best hunting tools or modify them until they become the best. File 2. In a time when most landbreakers were seen as destroyers of order, the pack stands out as an anomaly. They value order and hold a peaceful attitude toward the civilization band. Even now, they cling to certain old traditions such as strong familial bonds and a deep respect for unity. That very difference only fueled the long-standing feud between them and their rivals, the Bone Crushers. Over 10 years ago, the Bone Crushers struck with a vicious ambush, shattering the pack when they were at their weakest, just after the death of their Alfarian. Wulfgard and his younger sister survived the attack, but they refused to speak of what truly happened. Wulfgard then left the pack a few years after this coming-of-age ceremony, keeping in touch with only a few trusted friends and his sister. Is this the same attack that they had to save his sister for, or is that a different attack? No one ever knew why he left. He stayed silent, just like he did about the attack. Later, he approached Endfield and proposed a partnership. He eventually joined the Tech Specialist Division as an operator. Someone once asked why he chose Endfield. At first, he was silent. Then, with startling honesty, he answered, I want another future for the pack, and Endfield holds the possibility of making it real. Wulfgard spoke candidly of the pack's struggles. His steady resolve and honest intent opened doors, so it made perfect sense when he became an operator. As he put it, he had a duty to prove the pack's worth and to repay Enfield's trust in him. Since then, he's become a quiet and but reliable presence on many tough and dangerous missions. Operators who once held a deep prejudice against the Landbreakers began to change their views, thanks to Wulfgard. Then opinions shifted once more after the arrival of his sister, Operator Rossi, but that's a story for another time. Okay, so from day one, his file already confirmed that she had joined. I really thought they were gonna make us wait, but they really did not. File 3. How long are you going to stay this time? You coming home? A day? And nah. Just a day? Then never mind. Well, a couple of days ago, Rosie was whining again, saying she thinks you'll pull the same stunt this year. You know, the gift arrives, but the brother doesn't. Come on, even if you're not planning to come home, you could at least find time to see her once in a while. It's already been, what, over half a year since you two last met up at Tommaso's place? I still need to take care of a few things. Once it's done... Stop right there. That's what you said last time. Then you ran off to the frontier saying you had to clean up someone's mess. Gosh, I don't get you young folks. How do you always have so much to do? Hey, if I were you, no matter how swamped I was, I'd still swing by more to check on my little sis. She's a kid. Every other kid her age is in the clans dotted on by their families all day, every day. You're her family too? Well, yeah, wait, no, don't try to spin this on me. I get you've got your own things going on, but listen, as someone who's been there, whenever I see little Rosie, I can't help but think of my own little girl. Biggest regret of my life? Not being there for her when I saw the chance. Just hear me out, Catello. Life's short. Don't do things you'll end up regretting. I hear you, Uncle Rust. Rosie knows I'm back today. What? No way. Then why would she run off to the hunting grounds first thing in the morning with the Lewis twins? Unless... exactly. You two really are true lupus. So stubborn and so damn alike, it's scary. Alright, do whatever you like. But if you're always absent, aren't you worried something might go wrong? I was going to keep it from you for Rosie's sake, but looks like you need to hear it. 6 months ago, she got herself into serious trouble. Stuck her neck out for old Bart and his men, and ended up on the Shadow Skull's hit list. I remember it clear as day. 14 of them showed up, each nastier than the last. If Tommaso hadn't pulled some strings and brought in Capone's fangs... we probably wouldn't have even made it out of the black market alive. Is that the Capone? God, I hope so. It better be this guy. It better be. Worried now, huh? Nope, I was just wondering how Rosie found out I was heading north. It was you, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, well. I might have let that slip. Wasn't on purpose, though. Anyway, I checked your guns. They're as good as new. Just ease up on those custom rounds of yours. No barrel's gonna last that way, with the way you burn through them. Got it. Oh, there are actually 15 of them, huh? Alright, see you around. Audio log from Howlfire Gunsmiths. If Capone actually finally made a name for himself and has like a I don't know, mercenary team or something named after him, incredible. Finally escaped Lapland. Wulfgard knew better than anyone that leaving the pack for good meant this journey had no return date. By his own standards, that meant packing everything that might prove useful. Yet, standing before Il Cassiatore and sweeping his gaze over the massive rig that had been his sister and his home for nearly a decade, he realized abruptly that there was nothing left worth taking. Cassiatore means hunter, so the hunter. Standing before the hunter. He went over to his plans once more in his mind, making sure Rossi knew exactly who in the clan could be trusted. Confirm the 2 ways people could reach him, ask Tommaso to keep a close watch over Rossi, settle the last bit of custom work fees at Uncle Rust's, feed Giovanni's semi-wild foul beast one last time, and trust him to little Vincenzo next door. No, he hasn't forgotten a thing. Satisfied, he turned for one final check, just to be absolutely sure he hadn't left Rosie's handmade oranginium lamp glowing on the bedside table. But as soon as he stepped into his sleeping compartment, his eyes caught sight of something in an unremarkable corner of the cabinet, his worn guns, the very first weapons he had ever owned. Though second-hand and now running low on compatible ammo, those guns were priceless treasures back then. They kept him and his sister alive, earned him his first mercenary contract, and helped him take down his first target. When one of the oranginium activators failed, he was forced to master one-handed reloads and gun maintenance. After 3 years of supporting his family with mercenary pay, he finally replaced the worn oranginium activator and even crafted a set of custom-etched ammo. These guns are passed down from the clan's elders. Like many inherited dreams, they met their end during a high-stakes escort mission, overheating after prolonged firing. Soon after, Uncle Rust, a bounty hunter who had returned to the pack and opened a weapon refurbishment shop called Howlfire Gunsmiths. There, Wulfgard was introduced to custom weapon modifications for the first time. Then he learned to make weapons truly his own, even if they only suited him. Still, he never got rid of those guns that got him started. They remained tucked away in a quiet corner. Why keep them? As a reminder, a keepsake, or a memento of painful memories? He wasn't sure, maybe all, maybe none. After confirming the oranginium lamp was off, he headed out for the door, ready to embark on a journey that might finally give him an answer.
It's not easy working with the other operators. The way of the pack and my solitary nature aren't for everyone. But if you want me in line, I'll adapt and make it work. I'm more at home in the frontier than aboard the Jag. A comfortable place like this makes you soft. But Rossi loves this place. The ship satisfies her curiosity. I'll be blunt with you. I was never interested in studying the other Landbreaker clans. I just spent enough time in the wildlands, and survival skills simply became part of me. In the pack, we believe the best teacher is our survival instinct. It is our only belief. Endfield operators come from all corners of Talos too, and I see quite a few familiar faces. Or should I say, familiar threats. I still have faith in your judgment, but when the situation calls for it, I hope you can have faith in my instincts. Gun checks are my ritual. In the wild, if your fangs fail, you're meat. Same goes for a dead weapon. All your skills, all your training, useless. No power, no defense, just slow death. I went through it as a young pup. That lesson stuck. I won't be prey again. It's been a long while since I last visited my clan, or led them on a hunt. I'm better at finding new hunting grounds than leading raids as the Alfarion. I'm already treating my targets according to Endfield requirements. If I did things the old way, they'd be very, very quiet as soon as I laid hands on them. I believe you realized that. Becoming the Pack Alfarion has never been my goal. Rossi might be a better fit for that role. I'm also uncertain if Endfield is a proper resting place for Catello Wulfgard Droppino. The Landbreaker vision can't be more different from yours. However, working with Endfield is at least far more enjoyable than I expected, Endman. Why do I keep looking at the sky? Well, it's something I enjoy. Why do you look surprised? The sky is a free source of intel. It tells you about the weather, the time, and your orientation. You can even use it to predict enemy actions. Every hunter plays by the same rules under the sky. You can learn something about this as well, Endmin. My Landbreaker identity is the result of a bad choice made by my ancestors. We betrayed the civilization band to join the Breaker Lords, yet we failed to bring about the order or justice we dreamed of. I can't ask my forebears if they regretted their choice, but being born into a life filled with conflict and bloodshed in the wildlands, I know survival better than most. Supervisor Perlica said we could shed the Landbreaker label by working with Endfield. But for me, it's who I am. Does that disappoint you, Endmin? The pack is built upon simple logic. The weak must band together to defeat the strong and survive a world without mercy. Every code of the clan and the very Landbreaker identity itself is based upon this. But what does Endfield have? A great vision is a double-edged sword. While the pack can always start another hunt, Endfield could ill afford a single defeat. This world is without mercy, Administrator. But at least I'm part of your hunt, and I shall share part of your burden. I know that strength isn't everything, but in Telos 2, you can't live without it. Rossi loves collecting intricate things like these. I don't know what they're good for, but if it's for her, I'll just go around and look for more. Unrealistic idealism breaks more lives than it saves. Most frontiers folk learn that the hard way. The real tragedy is, some people are destined to be casualties. I do prefer taking care of problems on my own. Not that I think I can handle it all, just hoping to take the weight off someone else's back. One can hardly force a lone wolf to turn its back on its former pack. This goes without question. But a few took the path of no return for the sake of survival, or for something they hold dear. I can't sympathize with them, and I don't intend to interfere. I'll simply recognize the resolve behind their choices.
Only 3 topics.
Even till this day, I'm still looking for the future of the pack. Working with Endfield might not be the best option, but I believe it is an important and special step we must take. I understand no outsider can change the pack's mentality, but what we need is an opportunity to start the change. How to present this opportunity to the pack is something I've been trying to figure out. I should spend more time with Rossi, but when I look at her right now, I can't help but feel surprised by how much she's grown. She shares the breath of the wild, and easily taps into the blood of the pack. Weapon mastery, arts activation, and hunting. Everything came naturally to her. She is no longer the helpless babe wrapped in blood-soaked blankets. No. She is the wolf pearl of Familia Lupino. I am just the fangs of the pack, but Rossi will always be its heart and soul. Landbreaker clans are more complicated than most people think. Besides the Bone Crushers and the pack, there's the Sand Reavers, a strange, loosely organized clan that made their name with just a single Bergantine. Then there are the Grey Scars, who tattoo their entire bodies with binding verses, and the Shadow Skulls, a merciless group of assassins no one dares cross after sunset. These minor clans survive the wildlands, so it's natural they know a few tricks about staying alive.
Alright, actually that's interesting. There are more than just those 3. Sand Reavers, Bone Crushers, and the pack.
Landbreaker clans are more complicated than
Gray
most people
Scales,
think.
Shadow Skulls
Besides
as
the
well.
Bone Crushers and the pack, There's the Sand Reavers, a strange, loosely organized clan that made their name with just a single bergantin. Landbreaker clans are more complicated than most people.
Single bergantin. A bergantin is a ship. And if they're called Sand Reavers, I wonder if they use one of those sand sailing ships. How topical. That's Exodus from a Pale Sea is rerunning right now.
Aurelin. I guess Endfield finds it valuable.
I guess so.
Landbreaker clans are more complicated than...
Alright, now we'll work our way down the list.
Looky here. The Flying Mist Messenger got a special letter
Gilberta,
for
another
you.
reconvener, another chance for some interesting lore. None of her toasts ever really gave much, but she definitely confirms that she still is into the doctor / administrator. Expertise, messengers vacay. Snacks, cameras, sun hats, and cosmetics. Oh, and don't forget to bring the positive feels and vibes for the journey. Expertise, gravity shock. Gilberta doesn't get seasick, but she might get a case of ground sickness if she's been flying around for too long. Interesting. That's actually a very interesting thing. Like, how exactly does her arts affect gravity? And if she is in, like, true zero gravity, does that mean that her bones will weaken? And that, like what astronauts experience in space, if she uses her arts too much to reduce gravity around herself, will her body just become super weak? And then will she, like, have to experience too much stress when she gets back on land, which I assume is what the ground sickness is? Is when she returns gravity to her body. Hobbies. Color aficionado. Gilberta knows every color by its code, and she knows what everyone's favorite color is. Hobbies. Romantic footnote. Who bookmarked the sweetest part of the romance, and who scribbled something next to the drawing of the happily ever after? Birthday. November 28th. Which is different from Angelina, who is May 14th. So far, one reconvener shared a birthday, the other ones don't. Warpathy negative. Standard strength, normal combat skill, normal tactical acumen. Still don't know what the difference between standard and normal is. Excellent arts assimilation. Human resources. Summary. Recommended by Rhodes Island, Gilberta now serves under the Endfield Industries Specialist Tech Division. Before reporting in at Endfield, Operator Gilberta had spent 2 years roaming Talos II. As a messenger, she offered kind-hearted help to many across the land. In her words, that journey shaped who I am today. Then again, don't all our journeys shape the people we become? Operator Gilberta truly believes in sharing is caring, and that's something I really appreciate about her. Almost everyone on the Dejong has received a little gift from her. As for mine, it was an electronic music record, perfect for playing while writing up HR summaries. I've never seen anyone dressed almost entirely in red, while radiating every shade of color. She's an endless pool of possibilities, yet only a single choice came out from her. Pardon me, this unit was not intended to compose poetry. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Raindrops beaded along the edge of Gilberta's umbrella, each droplet swelling with borrowed weight before surrendering to gravity. Before one could shatter against the ground, she caught it midair with a flick of the arts and let it balance on her fingertip. This was her first journey beyond Rhodes Island. The skies were always a weeping steel. She walked unhurried, pausing whenever she felt like it. Her gaze drifted between the distant horizon and the letter in hand. Wulfgar's assignment, her first duty as a Talos II messenger. She lingered too long on the road, watching burden beasts amble, flying wing to wing with foul beasts. Even letting raindrops on her umbrella's edge steal her attention. Wulfgar never set her a delivery deadline. Just an encouragement. Go see the world. Gilberta understood Wulfgar's message. She needed to deepen her bond with this planet before answering her calling. It was something she genuinely wanted to do as well. But where to next? Her eyes wandered. A strange glow shimmered at the foot of the mountain. Wild creatures circled near a tower on the open plain. A breeze stirred the curtain at a distant mail depot. Every sight pulled her forward. Take it slow. I've got plenty of time, Gilberta thought to herself as she looked at the letter sealed with the crest of an industrial company. Just a little longer. I'll be there. She then flicked the raindrop into the stream before her as the skies cleared. The messenger closed her umbrella and resumed with her journey. With a flutter of crimson, she touched down bearing saccharine candies, animal-shaped origami, and a kaleidoscope of colored pencils. The kids swarmed around the mysterious Miss Messenger, who came by every now and then with treats, gifts, and tales they'd never heard before. Together, they drew her stories vibrant foul beasts, then folded sugary foil into tiny mirrors for themselves. As the evening bell rang, she said goodbye to each kid, watching them run home. One girl tugged softly at Miss Messenger's skirt. She had nowhere to go. With a gentle touch to her head, the messenger sent the girl floating upward as a startled yelp escaped her lips. Together they watched the moon climb the night sky as stars arranged themselves with fleeting constellations. Miss, aren't you going home? The girl whispered, lowering her head, knowing the messenger would soon leave her. My home lies beyond the far horizons, or should I say, it hides behind the sky and behind the stars themselves. Behind the stars? Would you like to visit? The girl nodded, then shook her head. She ached to go, yet feared troubling her beloved Miss Messenger. Don't worry. I've told my colleagues about a brilliant little girl. They all want to meet you. Really? Uh-huh. I would never lie to you. Oh, wait, it's time. It's time. Close your eyes and don't peek. In 3, 2, 1, voila. In Miss Messenger's hands appeared 2 cupcakes. Whoa. Today's your birthday, right? Of course I remembered. This one's just for you. The girl stared wide-eyed at the messenger as she dipped her cream-coated finger into her mouth, beaming with a sweet smile. I want to visit your home. To her, this cupcake was a treasure beyond price, held carefully as a fragile glass. Now aboard the Dejong, she studies tirelessly to become an official technician at the EFED. Whenever challenges arise, she takes a cupcake to the bridge and gazes toward Talos II. She finds herself drawing courage from that familiar crimson figure, always trailing a scent of sugar and resolve. Wow. How nice. What is the EFED though? Enfield Energy Department? Enfield... Emissions Division? Enfield... Enfield Engineering Division. Andre's a part of it. That's what pops up when I typed it in. Checks out. Training log. Environment setting C, gravity setting 2. Subject Gilberta. Recorder Lil Dodge. Gilberta's training performance exceeded all benchmarks. For her arts specialization, we modified the chamber with gravity field generators and tactical release nodes, anticipating a lengthy adjustment period. Yet her combat instincts proved sharper than projected. Mission accomplished in 1/3 the estimated time, with notably restrained collateral damage, a rarity for these fragile systems, as you know. Her gravitational control hints at a paradigm-shifting potential, a tactician who warps the battlefield itself, or perhaps a one-woman armada breaker. With this being said, I'm sure every commander will vie for her deployment. Our next step is clear: help Gilberta unlock her full potential and refine her tactical instincts. Her abilities can turn the tide under any condition, and that's thrilling. Training log 6. Environment setting S. Gravity setting 26. Subject Gilberta. Recorder Lil Dodge. In recent training sessions, we've been exploring Gilberta's control over her arts. When we increased the number of non-directional gravity sources to 8, her control over the surrounding field showed a marked decline. Most of the time, she was able to maintain stable gravity around herself, but at critical environmental thresholds, she could no longer stabilize areas a few meters away, which means she couldn't ensure the safety of nearby teammates. All relevant parameters and environmental conditions have been uploaded to the EFDB. While Talos 2 is unlikely to present situations with multiple gravity sources shifting unpredictably, the risks of our operators face extend beyond this planet. At certain depths, any battlefield condition is possible. Gilberta expressed some dissatisfaction with her performance, but she did more than enough. This training was designed specifically to test the limits of her abilities, and it's now our task to develop the next training phase accordingly. File 4. Gilberta first met them with a white bed sheet draped over her head as she played hide-and-seek with the hospital's children. As the door creaked open, she floated like a dandelion seed over giggling kids, then whooshed straight at the intruder for a tackle hug. Haha, gotcha. She yanked off the bedsheet triumphantly, only to freeze. Not a giggling child, but a stranger, a figure in a specialized mask, tilting their head in bemused silence. Oh. Gilberta recoiled, hands snapping back to her chest. A flustered smile flickered across her face just as recognition dawned, stealing all words of apology. That outfit, that mask, no way. Gilberta had imagined countless ways they might meet, but never like this. You must be Gilberta, right? Well, I think you already know who I am. Their voice carried no thunderous command, yet it etches itself into memory like a half-remembered lullaby. Gilberta's face burned crimson, replaying her earlier blunder. She stepped back only to catch her heel on a hospital cot, sending her sprawling onto its edge. I didn't expect you here. I heard some kids had been rescued and brought in, so I came to check on them. What were you doing just now? Oh, hide and seek. The kids were getting bored, so I figured we could play a game and cheer them up a bit. Hide and seek, I see. They picked up Gilberta's bedsheet. Well then, since you caught me, does that mean I'm it? Huh, but you're... They scheduled me to give a speech, but honestly, I'd rather play with you and the kids. What's wrong? Noting Gilberta's silence, the figure touched their own cheek and quiet bewilderment. You're nothing like the rumors, Gilberta smiled in relief. Is that so? Confusion deepened. Freshly cleared for independent movement, yet still adrift in memory's fog, they stood suspended between protocol and instinct. Alrighty, let me explain the rules, Gilberta said with a grin on her face. So this was them, that half-remembered silhouette, the voice murmuring at fate's periphery. She was grateful for the Oranginium woods left behind. More grateful still for this place, this moment. Yeah, Gilberta's stuff really indicates a connection between the Endmen just being the Doctor. We've had a few other things where like, yeah, it's pretty much, it definitely is the case. I'm still not 100% sure. But I'm 99.9% sure. Gilberta's stuff, this file, her toast that showed that she definitely is still like crushing on them. Definitely helps reinforce that. I wonder where Amia is. I would assume she stayed on Terra. She's the king of Sarkash. She's got stuff to do. Someone's gotta watch over that place still. Also, I guess it's Oranginium Woods, not Oranginium Forest, but same difference. The Sarkaz came along. Not all of the Sarkaz.
I just love collecting lipsticks of all sorts of colors and flavors. I can't help but wonder if they add sparkling hues and tints to our words. Talos adds a brilliant spectrum of colors to the sky of Talos 2. Those unexpected spectacles with flashes of radiance. Aren't they simply romantic, Endman? Look at what I brought, Endman. Mini lamps with all sorts of colors, plus a little incense burner from Witching Hour. I'm thinking if we could use them to decorate your cabin together, Endman? Once the lights are off, your place will be as brilliant as the starry night. Come on, what do you say? Characters in novels keep hiding their feelings. Why? There were so many invitations they failed to deliver. So many letters they failed to send. So many things they failed to say. So obviously simple, but they just couldn't find the courage to convey their feelings. Now I could easily invite you to an adventure, or give you fun prezzies. I wonder where the difference is. Miss Akekuri gave me this special talisman. She told me that my wishes will eventually come true if I carry it round with me. Now, I wish that everyone who hires me for a letter delivery will have their wishes fulfilled. I hope this wish doesn't sound too greedy. I always dream about the places I've seen. And amidst my blurry dreamscapes, there's always a figure standing in silence, as though waiting for a person or a letter. Recently, I've been getting a clearer view of that figure, and it's someone whom I'm pretty familiar with. The first letter I delivered was a recommendation that Surgeon Warfarin wrote for me. I was a little nervous when I first stepped aboard Dijiang. Warfarin told me to wait for the Administrator, and I kept thinking, what's this Endman like? But seeing you in person after your accidental awakening, all my worries just faded away. Oh, I got to admit, I'm still a little nervous. I love solo flights after the sun is set. The night sky lets me gaze upon twinkling stars. Perhaps they have plenty of stories of their own. Perhaps, at those very moments, there were others who were thinking the same thing and looking at the same night sky together with me.
She said accidental awakening. When was there an accidental awakening in the past? Because the recent one wasn't accidental.
Loneliness is the messenger's companion, but I could never get used to it. Whenever I reached a distant place, I would take out my compass to find my bearings towards Rhodes Island. Surgeon Warfarin is there, along with memories that never fade. Now, I'm traveling down a path where new friends and encounters await. Just thinking about this gives me warm, cozy feels, as well as hope for the journey ahead. That's right. I want to be a messenger who's never lonely. I don't know. Seeing a lonely star would give me an indescribable sense of loss and regret. Oh, twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder from afar. Could you be across that sky so wide, still waiting for your star to shine beside? When I just left the woods, I noticed the blank letter by my side. It felt like a symbol of my confusion. And I always wondered, why was I the only one who had it? Should I write something on it? And who should I deliver this letter to? I journeyed far, yet failed to find my answers. But now, I believe I should jot down all that I've felt and fantasized, and deliver it to my most important and special someone.
Which ties into her mission. So that came with her out of the woods too, okay.
A journey that I remember most. Endman, have you heard about alloy carrot? Goddesses who live at that place eat carrots. All the time. And they have all sorts of carrot recipes. I visited the city twice to deliver medication to the TGCC, running the carrot farms. If I can visit that place again, I hope I'll get to see the subterranean big borehole. Ah, and I'll definitely book a place at the Cabbage Inn. Not that I hate carrots, I just want a bit more variety. Weightlessness is a constant feeling I have. I always feel like a balloon gently skimming across the heavy earth. Yet I do whatever I can to make it float with me. Sounds like I'm fantasizing, doesn't it? But even while flying, I would cast a long shadow upon the land, as if something was tethering me to the earth. Just like how these letters link me to you. What about this book? Well, it's an anthology of short stories of all sorts of messengers. One of them navigated through a catastrophe to save people.
only to be called out as an accursed harbinger of disaster. Another just wanted a peaceful delivery, only to topple an entire nation through a series of unexpected events. And there's this young but clumsy messenger who lost the deliveries on their first day of the job. I love every single tale in this book. I've heard plenty of people talk about Terra in New Rankwood. Some lauded her warmth, others cursed her lack of mercy. A few hated her devastation, and there were those who missed her beauty. While thespians and writers devote entire lifetimes to that part of our history, the philosophers believe that we should move on and embrace a new way of thinking. I personally treat Terra as a familiar yet distant name. A world of beautiful landscapes and familiar faces. What about you, Endman? No messengers could guess the contents of a letter. But when I see fancy stickers and decorations on the envelope, I imagine warm, cozy stories waiting to happen. An envelope wrinkled by the rain, on the other hand, gives me the vibes of a difficult journey or heartbreaking separation. The letter writers rarely share their feelings with the messengers. They never know how someone whom they've never met actually shares their happiness and sadness.
Yeah, so what's going on in the Warfire and how's she doing? She's like 400-year-old now. She needs to retire.
Surgeon Warfarin? She looked great and appeared to be her same old self. But there was this time when Warfarin remembered my birthday wrong. And she looked really guilty while apologizing to me. It wasn't that big of a deal. Then she called me by the wrong name in panic. I've never seen her like that. How would I describe it? She appeared really confused and lost. And even after I left, she brooded by the dinner table by herself for a really, really long time.
Poor Warfarin. Yeah, it's probably weird to be like... This person looks exactly like this other person I knew once, but they're not the same person. So you're gonna like accidentally get their birthday wrong because Gilberta's birthday's different. Or call them by their other name, but it's not the same person. I can't remember if that was... I know I had heard some people talking about Warfarin having like memory issues. I don't know if it was that dialogue or if it was from somewhere else, but that to me is more just like she's remembering Angelina because Gilberta looks like Angelina, right? So it's not like a memory issue thing. It's just a force of habit sort of thing.
I met a mysterious lady at Rhodes Island quite a while ago. She wielded a unique-looking blade and stood by the tranquil lake. Suddenly, Her blade flashed. It left only a gentle ripple upon the lake waters, but clove an entire cloud in two. She gave me this letter in hope that I could deliver it to the administrator. And once Operator Chen Qianyu finally comes into her own, you can then pass it on to her.
Yeah, so Chin's mom's hanging out at Rhodes Island.
Aviwenna is always delivering to dangerous places. She might be smiling all the time, but her eyes are hiding some heavy secrets. Secrets that she could not share with anyone. I've seen plenty of other messengers who share the same gaze, and I know what it means. Talus 2 is filled with all sorts of unknown dangers. I've read Ardelia's report. The hazards of Talus 2 are far more unpredictable than those of faraway Terra. Since messengers have to navigate through areas with frequent blight events, we often carry gear for emergency first aid or evac. Since I can fly, I often carry extra sets of emergency gear and drop them off at resting areas in the wildlands. I hope this can help people who run into trouble. While I was at Rhodes Island, I thought Surgeon Warfarin would give me a few missions, but she told me that Rhodes Island was not in a position to make itself known to the public. However, since I'm a messenger, she told me I would do better by traveling under the open skies. And that's exactly what I did. Spent 2 years wandering Talus 2, getting to know this world before finally arriving here. While I was at Rhodes Island, I thought Surgeon Warfarin would give me a few missions, but she told me that Rhodes Island...
So they're not in a position to go public, which explains why they've been keeping a low profile then. It's also interesting that she calls her Surgeon Warfarin and not like Director Warfarin or something. So she hasn't gotten like made herself a new title or anything, even though she seems to be the only one in charge. Though I guess there really was never a leadership title on Rhodes Island.
Caught it before it flew away.
Pretty casual place, actually, if you think about it.
I'm primed for optimal performance.
Next up is Arclight. We'll hopefully learn about some of the Hanabit circuits more, their origins I'm interested in, where they come from, who are they? Expertise. Minimalist crafting. An assembly of simple items might create a tool capable of helping people survive, such as the wisdom of the wild lands. Expertise. Aldertone. The cruelty of life taught Arclight the lessons of survival. She hopes to teach others these lessons. Hobbies. Wildlands explorer. Nature is filled with danger, but whenever she pauses to look around, magnificence is all that is left. Or that is all that she felt. That's not what I said at all. Hobbies. Night runner. Made me think of Knight Rider. The Wildlands is the best place to exercise. It is there where she could run to her heart's content. Haranta are meant to run. Date of birth, January 3rd. She is oropathy positive. Excellent strength, standard combat skill, normal tactical acumen, and excellent arts assimilation. Human resources. Arclight is a song seeker from the Hannibit Circuit, and she has joined Whoops. She has joined Endfield Industries as a field operator with recommendations from Aldertone Orisha. Arclight also provides support for various Endfield operations as well as maintenance and repairs for Endfield machinery and vehicles. To Arclight, the motorcycle is more than just a transport vehicle. She regards them as a companion that grows with her. Every dismantling and modification achieved more than just simple repairs. They brought transformation and new life. Perhaps the need to protect both machinery and life gave Arclight her excellent understanding of mechanical engineering and aesthetics. Also, since Arclight hails from the Hannibit Circuit, she is more than eager to share everything she knows with those in need. Although the phrases and words she uses are full of metaphors, they also reflect her unique and in-depth knowledge of the wild lands. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Surprised we actually did not get her name yet. Akut is the actual name of Operator Arclight. What? Is Sorella Arclight a different person? Don't know. Maybe we'll find out if I keep reading. Whenever people ask if she came from the Hannibit Circuit, Arclight always answered with this line: I follow Aldertone Orisha, and every song seeker is her own master. Operator Arclight has an indescribable passion about motorcycles. Arsenal engineer Simeon often conversed with Arclight regarding her motorcycle, and these are what he had to say. He's got a lot to say. My goodness. Initially, I thought it was a custom military vehicle that found its way into the civilian market. I could hardly believe what I saw when it turned out to be the work of an engineering that Arclight assembled and tuned on her own. I studied the motorcycle closely after acquiring her permission. Its Orangenium engine was a 10-year-old piece of obsolete tech from Misc Industries. The drivetrain was produced by Trigolava Armory. Labels on the suspensions were worn out, but I guessed based on the structures that they were from Northmarch Support Hub. The most impressive component would be the chassis. The entire thing was handcrafted, and every weld made to the greatest detail. The entire framework felt almost seamless. Even more extraordinary was the fact that the motorcycle wasn't just an assembly, but an integration of exemplified the strengths of every component's manufacturer. This could only have been achieved with the highest level of technical expertise. The entire vehicle was a near perfect balance of power, endurance, and handling. Although everyone approves of Operator Arclight's superb technical abilities, many also pointed out this observation. She treated people rather coldly and spoke in a manner that was difficult to understand. Even Operator Simeon reflected that Arclight rarely spoke. Perhaps Operator Arclight's unique experiences made her appear lukewarm, and her first impression often gave off the vibe of unfriendly individual. However, people who got to know her better would learn that she was an incredibly reasonable person. Those who often converse with Arclight even heard her saying shocking things that resembled jokes. Needless to say, Operator Arclight was simply speaking her mind and wasn't trying to be funny in these instances. Comments about Arclight being difficult to converse with typically arises as her language was heavily influenced by the Hannibit Circuit's unique form of expressions. Arclight has a tendency to use metaphors inspired by the natural world, such as using Burden Beast's temper to describe mechanical breakdowns, or the morning mist to illustrate an individual's hesitation. People who are more forthright in their manners of speech may be thrown off by Arclight's unique linguistic choices. However, good listeners would appreciate her clear reasoning and steadfast consistency in her actions. Song seekers of the Hannibit Circuit have their own unique understanding of the world and modus operandi. If one wishes to understand Arclight better, one would do well to appreciate her way of describing this world. Still trying to figure out who the heck Sorella is. It only comes up with Rosie's file, so I don't know if that's... I assume it must be a different person, but I don't know why it would be a different person named Sorella Arclight, who sounds just like Arclight, because it talks about them climbing a mountain, and that's people talk about Arclight climbing mountains a lot, so that's very strange. But whatever. Final 2. I still remember the first time I met Akut. The patrolling hunt singers brought her back to the camp, and the girl was barely alive. It was difficult for us to fathom why such a young child was left to roam the wildlands for months on her own, a suffering that almost killed her with malnutrition and thirst. To treat the injuries on her right arm, we were forced to reconnect the nerves with circuitry. Oh snap. Of course, there is no need to be worried about the hazards posed by her right hand. We have designed a special pair of insulation gloves so that she may live normally like us. Ah, that's on her right arm. I named her Akut based on the strong and intelligent burden beast of Arhana. It is my hope that she could grow up strong and survive the wind and frost like powerful burden beasts. She achieved all that and went beyond my expectations. But Akut grew up in an immense duty that seemed far too heavy for her. Perhaps it was her early victory over death itself, or her powerful name she took from the Hana. When she turned 15, Akut started to seek the songs and roam the wildlands. The Song Seeker did everything she could to help villages and towns in dire straits, even when the challenges were far too great. I still remember that rainstorm. During our rescue operation, Akut ventured alone into the heart of the tempest. We thought she would never come back. Just when all hope seemed lost, an arc of lightning streaked across the sky. Like that arc, she pierced the fury of nature and leaped onto the last wagon. And with this act, the wildlands began to address her as Arclight. The name was woven into the Hana of numerous song seekers. She took a name from the verses and returned a new name to their songs. I was not surprised when Arclight told me that she wanted to seek new answers from Endfield. In fact, it reminded me of the choice I made when I was younger. I once roamed far to the canopies of the starry night, and from there I felt a chorus of hope and courage assembled in the floating city. Those memories felt like they belonged to a lifetime ago, but I would believe that as long as the stars still shine in the sky, civilization will one day be united once more. I also believe that Arclight, along with the names and oaths she wove into her Hana, will find the answers she truly seeks. Letter of Recommendation for Endfield Entries written by Aldertone Orisha. A massive landbreaker army had encircled a wildland village. The breakers prepared themselves for a full-scale assault. Hopelessness spread like a plague amongst the garrisoned Endfield operators and the local residents. That was the moment when they saw her. Arclight of the Hannibit Circuit, the lone song seeker who roared into the town astride her motorcycle. She tore through the rear of the breaker army and seized control of the situation without hesitation. Under her leadership, the residents created a defensive line with their wagons and salvage. The elderly and children were moved to the hills. Everyone who could work dug the trenches and set up simple Oranginian defense units. Every action was calm and simple, and she moved through the place like a part of the wildlands itself. On the eve of the landbreaker attack, thunder rumbled from afar. The monsoons came as usual, and a night long of torrential rain carved a new creek that coursed through the place. Arclight may have memorized every corner of the wildlands. The river coursed through the trenches that Arclight directed and became a protective moat that protected the entire village. Floodwaters also washed through the breakers' camp and foiled their attack formation. The landbreakers did not leave empty-handed. They attempted to ford the moat and assail the defenses, but every attack was beaten back by Arclight, the Endfielders, and village residents. In the end, the raiders were forced to escape under the cover of a rainy night. When the dark clouds finally left the wildlands, Arclight found the Endfield operator who was sending a report to De Jong. She waved a letter of recommendation to the skies and said, "The quaking of the wildlands dirt led me here. Now please lead me to Endfield." Heck of an introduction. File 4. Once the grasses rippled and riped, while rivers flowed and glistened, now the bones of the land have loosened. The sky hanged low as rain fell in torrents. Bones bleached in the wildlands, winds choked with dust. No song-seeker Hana could hide anger nor angst. Like a lame burden beast, I escaped dark waves that tossed and rolled. Where is the Hannibit Circuit, the land where all may grow? My path is filled with dust and thorns. Where is the Hannibit Circuit, the land where all may grow? The drifting city casts the lands the anchor of hope, and I, in pursuit of silent stars, will start another trip. Hannibit Circuit, take me to the brink. As winds never cease, I shall never quit. Hana of Arclight. So I guess everyone gets their own personal Hana.
Repairing an iron steed is like treating a cysty beast. One must listen closely before administering the treatment. The stars here are different from what we see from the wildlands, but both vantages are equally enthralling. I am studying those clouds. Their sharp edges herald a storm. Be wary if your next mission takes you down there. Your hair is lovely, like beast hide wet with the dew of dawn. You've never seen it? Well, it's just beautiful. Ever seen the prairie migrations? An army of beasts and wagons chasing the rain and clouds. Such are the things I wish to protect. You often lose yourself gazing upon this world. I think I know how you feel. Our hearts always yearn for places we care for, no matter how far away they may be.
The thing is, though, she doesn't really actually talk strangely at all.
I recommend learning basic wildland survival, Edmund. Handcrafting long-ear traps is a good place to start. This I can teach you. Life in the wildlands is difficult, but it is also beautiful. Like the clear skies ending a long monsoon. Like a hatching fowl beast under the moon. There is nothing mysterious about old devices working better when cobbled together. Yoke two unfamiliar burden beasts to the same wagon and give them time. They will eventually become a good team. I started my wandering to look for answers. The wildlands have been unbalanced, and I must do something. I listened to the lapping lakes and the whispering woods, and now I wish to hear your voice. I shall weave these tales into the Hannah of our journey. This will take time, for too many things are worthy of song. Once the Hannah is complete, you shall be the first to hear it. Those who wish to live will make themselves heard, and the song seekers who wander shall always hear. Such is the purpose of the Hannabit Circuit. Being a friend of the Wildlander tribes is simple. We focus on what matters: the weather, the food, and the dangers. These alone take up much of our time. Every song seeker of the Hannabit Circuit knows the Hannahs by heart. It isn't hard. The verses cover every aspect of our lives. Likewise, we are woven into the verses as well. My Aldertone told me about Terra and cities that move to avoid catastrophes. It seems we have inherited our ancestral practice, but just in another form. You can trade used goods in certain wildland bazaars, but one must be patient to find a good deal. I modified an old Yersh device for my communicator. They make things that work reliably in extreme environments. Talos, too, is bigger than I thought. I once believed that every city is just another arrangement of steel, roads, and lights. But when I actually visited them, I realized every city had its own pulse and vibe. The distinction is more striking than two pastures of different grasses. I have traveled much, and tales about you are sung by even the most distant of tribes. Though these stories may differ wildly, one amazing thing remains the same. Hope is always bound to your name. A dying nomad sang our very first Hannah, and it had but 3 lines. These verses gave birth to the name of the Hannabit Circuit, and starting with the first Aldertone, the Hannah has led the wandering song seekers till they, too, become part of the song. The Aldertones rarely speak directly. Orisha said that the Hannah contained all the knowledge we need. She taught me through her actions. We must help each other in order to survive in this world. I grew up in a small tribe with no more than 100 souls. It was all I knew before I started my journey. It taught me to milk the Sisti beasts, ride my iron steed, and survive the wildlands. I never left it. I simply brought it with me. We usually bottle them to give light.
Well, we got a little bit on the origin of the Hannabit Circuit. But they're still holding out on us. And no mention of Sorella, so who knows? Next up
Watch this!
is Yvvonne.
Behave, Frosty Bitey! Oh.
I think we already did
Going
Chen,
for a
right?
walk with Endman.
Did I do Chen yet? I think Chen was... two streams ago. me just confirm. Yeah. Expertise, spark of design. She's always filled with wild, imaginative ideas. In fact, she managed to assemble modules that couldn't be more different to create gadgets with strange, unexpected functions. Expertise, efficiency. Her bot companions never tire, allowing her or follow her every whim and guarantee her work efficiency. Hobbies, fashion, machine aesthetics. A leader of Endfield fashion and trends, Yvvonne treats science as a form of aesthetics, and aesthetics as a form of science. Hobbies, Etherside deciphering. She stands at the very fringe of Etherside technology on Talos 2. Every step she takes is an all-new adventure. Date of birth, May 9th. Oropathy negative. Standard strength, standard tactical acumen, normal skill though. Excellent arts of simulation. HR summary. Operator Yvvonne was recommended by Crow of UWST to Andre. She joined the Specialist Tech Division of Endfield Industries via the Specialized Talent Recruitment Channel. Yvvonne is now leading several research projects on the Ether, the Blight, and Trans-Ether Tranquilizer automata associated with the previous two, aka Tata. Given her outstanding scientific research capabilities, she has received bonus grants and resources to support her independent research. During background checks, many have described Yvvonne as an engineer with an obvious streak of rebellion. However, I cannot be more opposed to this evaluation, and no, this has nothing to do with the laser stickers she adhered upon my chassis. In my opinion, the core issue rests in the inability of most individuals to keep up with her rapid train of thought. The end result would appear that she has teamwork issues. Also, she is rather confident in her personal style that she constructed for herself after years of scientific research. Her violations were never deliberate. Instead, they should be considered instinctive reactions when someone or something attempts to interfere with her way of thinking or self-expression. Such personality quirks withstood the influence of the environment, and many would often regard this as Yvonne's rebel spirit. However, her brightly colored outfits, carefree graffiti, and complex yet extremely practical chassis designs are modes of expression that she has consistently maintained. In a world filled with rules and boundaries, those who remain true to themselves would seem rather out of place. Fortunately, Endfield is not a place dictated by inflexible regulations. Our vision is to change this world instead of sustaining its current existence by sticking to the law. Moreover, when our people described Yvonne as a rebel, they did so with a smile. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Document a list of lost items. A laser jelly bag, printed with a big, friendly, smiley graffiti, with an inner pocket containing scented beads. A bottle of nail varnish containing an environment-sensitive pigment that changes color according to the concentration of ambient ether. A children's toy constructed from nuts, bolts, gears, axles, and other pieces of hardware. It resembles an oddly familiar hexagonal structure and is furnished with a brightly colored coating. A set of memorial laser cards. This appears to be a special reward for the winners of the first Talos 2 Bastion defense. The back of the cards feature the portrait of a Voivra. You telling me Bastion defense is it's gonna be an infield too? A miniature ether counter. This device is the shape of a necklace. It is furnished with not yet released algorithms that grant it far higher sensitivity than existing competition on the market. A half a box of cream puffs, spicy buck flower flavor, the most popular snack on the market with a rather peculiar taste. Note, half a box of the same cream puffs was seen on Supervisor Perlica's desk. Spicy cream puffs, that's strange. A set of good engineer screwdrivers, special cherry pink edition. The user has kept it well maintained and rust free. Monthly Martha. Martha survived on Endfield. The latest issue was just being sold today. This fashion magazine introduces the latest in trends and outfits of Talos 2. About 2 weeks ago, I think I saw Yvvonne wearing the outfit featured on that magazine cover. If she's always ahead of the trend, can it be that she's the legendary shadow designer? Message. Yvvonne, I know that testing the prototype is important, but please claim your lost items. Document. Investigation of an incident of fire. Case summary. Last night, a fire broke out in the second-floor library of a residence on the border between the suburbs and the Central District. Most of the furniture and retro-style clothing was damaged in the blaze. The fire was contained within the house. No casualties were reported. The book collection of the library escaped unscathed. 1. Investigation of the site. The library windows were locked from the inside. The locks appear undamaged. 2 sets of fingerprints were collected. Footprints of a gardener responsible for regular pruning of the plants were found next to the garden. The fire started at the carved armoire. Investigation of surveillance records. At around 20 hours, the homeowner and his daughter had an extensive dialogue at the living room. At 2100 hours, both headed to the library. Witness testimonies. Homeowner. Apologies for troubling you into making this journey, but things are under control. People must burn the library once every a few centuries or so. Spouse of the homeowner. My husband prepared that room before our girl was born. He wanted her to inherit that ancient culture, literature, and art, as well as to sow its seeds upon this new land. I was hoping she could start a cultural restoration study group. The incident is a shame, really. Daughter of the homeowner. We actually applied precision controls and barely suffered any losses. So why are we being inspected? Governess. I'm no longer giving meaningful instructions to the young mistress. Ballet and etiquette do not interest her. She's only willing to play the piano. The combined might of 100 burden beasts could not force her to do something she doesn't like. What is she doing now? She's teaching me how to compose Neo-Talosian music, and it's pretty interesting. Oh, I'm also learning electronic repairs from her. She has the engineer's knack, if you ask me. Post-incident handling. After verifying various findings, we have ascertained that the incident was a private act of planned incineration. The responsible homeowner has been censored and fined. The incident does not need to be escalated to the community management department. Additional testimonies from the homeowner. Fine, I said. Since you've chosen your path, we might as well burn the things. She studied my face for quite a while. When we both realized neither of us was joking, she immediately started cheering. She said something about making a huge fireworks display and took out the contraptions she built. Maybe they're called drones. Anyway, these gadgets of hers could spew fire and ice. I watched the library burn with her. Bright orange flame flickered behind the gaps of the door. I heard the wooden shelves crackle, burst, and split as the fire licked and consumed it. I actually felt a certain degree of pain. The books in the house may not be antique relics, but I spent quite a tidy sum on acquiring this collection. I guess it can't be helped. It is the price I have to pay for spending years forcing her to go against her will. I have no choice but to demonstrate my stance. But those two flying gadgets came buzzing out with the books. She giggled and said that we simply had different tastes and questioned on the necessity of destruction. She went on by saying that her preference for New Telosian wave literature does not mean she dislikes stories from further back. She even said that she had memorized those older tales. So what was I saying again? Apologies, I was too busy reminiscing about the smells given off by the fire. Oh wait, I remember. I said to her, we make this into a proper workshop and make a drone for me if you have the time, the one that can light my cigars. Yeah, so she talked about this in, I believe, her toast or something. But her family, she's called Yvvonne because her parents wanted to, were part of a group of I think it was Gaulish, like, cultural enthusiasts. But she was not into that. It's good to see that her parents realized that and backed off on that. Instead of trying to continue forcing her. Trying to find. I guess I'll just look at it myself. I was trying to find it, but I guess I'll just pull it up myself. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, Gaulish. Yeah, okay.
Orignium will carve a path for us.
File 3. A group of merchants lived on the 4th planet visited by the Little Engineer. They gave every star a name and locked the numbers in the safe. Many academicians lived in the 6th planet visited by the Little Engineer. The Little Engineer saw their incredibly thick spectacles and immediately ran away. The Little Engineer bid farewell to the gargantuan Faramut of industry. He shouted into the mountain valley, "Let's be friends, I'm lonely," but the mountains only responded with echoes of echoes of echoes. And in the end, the Little Engineer collapsed in the sand and... oh yeah. With a swoosh, he got back to his feet and shook off the sand. He waved at his friends, grew a pair of sparkling wings, and flew towards the stars. This story is probably written by another author from just where my home used to be. Terran stories are interesting as long as they're not history. Alright, my little rascals, that's it for today. Next time we'll... Miss Yvvonne? Don't look... You look really down. What's wrong? The Little Engineer is so sad. He could not find his home anywhere, and he made no friends. He's so lonely. And why did he fly? Is it 'cause he got eaten up by the Agaloy? The grown-ups keep lying to me about this. Yvonne blinked a few times and fished out her pocket the toy that was cobbled together with hardware parts. The little thing resembled Tata and glinted in the sunlight like specks of diamond dust. The little engineer just couldn't find fitting companions, but that doesn't mean he's lonely. Look at this. This is the first companion he built for himself. He also built other interesting teammates. One makes ice cream, the other creates fireworks. Every one of them was a loyal friend. And then Yvonne followed the light and raised her head. Clouds slowly rolled across the uniform sheen of azure blue. She could imagine Dijon cruising along its carefree orbit high above the skies. Yvonne then lowered her gaze and looked upon the children of Valley 4, their faces glowing with hope for more stories. The silhouette of the vessel, the sparkling wings of the little engineer, starlight of 500 million bells, and a world of splendor and harmony flowed across her retina. Yvonne felt free. The tempo of her storytelling became lighter and faster. And then in the end, it wasn't the darkness you imagined. The little engineer left because he made new friends, received an invitation from the brightest stars, and got a new place to stay. Now dry your tears and I'll reward you with a bonus story about the administrator. Yeah, so what do you want to hear? The one where the Endman smashed the sun, or the one where the Endman transformed a single oranginium crystal into 1,000,000 soldiers? Smashed the sun and 1,000,000 soldiers. The Endman is so awesome. Are these stories true? Are the stories true? Well, I guess I'll ask the hero in question right after this. All right. Document. Yvonne's work diary. Day 3 after starting at that particular data section of the Ether Rift. Can't see anything inside. All monitoring modules were knocked out. IR, EM, resonance responses. We got flatlined for everything. Not a single blip showed up. Sheesh. I tried to read the changes of that particular area with a smart sign language interpreter, and all I got was a bunch of errors and a single line that reads, failed to interpret data. We didn't just fail to monitor the stuff. The ethers rubbed it in our faces, and we're completely blind to it. The only thing I'm certain of is this. It exists, and it's not very nice. I hate things I can't see. Maybe I can change my approach. What would happen if I actively send data into it? Instead of just passively waiting for a response to come out of the output port, we could seize the initiative and interact with it instead. I tried 3 signal packs with different frequencies. A standard greetings protocol, a set of greetings I wrote myself in pulse-based format, a set of static noise, the first note from the movement to genesis of the universe. The ether side might like it. The results are just as predicted. No response. Fine, be optimistic. Perhaps there was a response, but receiving a radio wave transmission and emitting a response might take a while. If a single vibration takes at least 10 million years, then I have no choice but to keep Frosty Bitey on the receiving line. Perhaps I can try optical wave signals with various color codes. If that thing can see things, perhaps it'll like glittering stuff like me. Plus, light travels faster than sound. How many times did I fail again? Can't remember. Signal modulation, model simulations, and feedback monitoring, none of it worked. The noise I'm getting sounds like either laughing at me. I really hope it was laughing at me, because that means I'll unleash Frosty Bitey and ram some ice cold down its throat. I always believed that persistence will eventually identify a crack, but now I am beginning to wonder if this is a futile effort of exploration with no way out. We can't even observe this thing. How are we supposed to decipher it? The models I proposed and the devices I designed felt like childish gimmicks when compared to the Blight. Maybe the only thing I can do right now is spin around on my swivel chair. Perhaps I gotta wait 10 million years for a miracle to happen. I might as well change my scientific approach. Time to build an invincible space armada Let the ancient songs echo as I raise countless cities into the skies. Unfeasible? Maybe, but what can be unfeasible? What can be more unfeasible than deciphering the ether? I looked at these images of the ether rift. I gazed at them long and hard. It devoured both sound and light. Even I got trapped within it. It crushed me and smothered me with eternal darkness. There is no escape for me. So why am I doing all of this? To protect Talos 2? To prove myself? Because I got a grudge against Ma and Pa? No. I think it all started on that day. I read about the ether rift in the books and found it beautiful. So I snuck off to the protection band so I could observe it. Like the giddy girl I was, the rift gave off a bright halo. Looking at it feels like staring straight into the sun. The piercing pain then gave way to a sense of indescribable horror, and then it melted. It was a terror that got me bawling and trembling under my blankets late that night. My eyes swelled like peaches in the following morning. I looked gross, and I don't ever want to look like that again. So that's it. I'm going to decipher it. It's simple as that. And I believe I can do it at Endfield. So once again, I punched the send button, a resounding kablam of epic proportions and zero hesitation. Gone and dusted. The darkness will be no more, and I shall return to daytime. Nothing like getting your mind melted by like an eldritch horror. That's what that sounded like.
Every time I study the automated industry complex, I can't help but feel that it's pure perfection. PAC-directed production is no longer a cold, repetitive chore, but a living, breathing system of intertwining process loops. Absolutely ingenious. Endman, I've got to try this. Come on, please. I'll be honest with you, Endman. I like your style, but don't you think it's time for a wardrobe refresh? Come on, let's get you something flashier and brighter. Your fashion upgrade will be the Vogue, guaranteed. Perlica won't let me bring my Tweety bombs along because she said they're safety hazards, but I just can't live without them. In the end, I compromised and dismantled the demolition modules before boarding this ship. I'm planning a La Fantoma getaway. Kinda miss the beaches and ocean breeze. Wanna come with, Endman? Oh, we can also check out their latest coastal engineering. I heard it's got a new layer of blight-resistant coating they just recently developed. I guess we haven't been in the same picture together, Endman. How about a selfie? I'm going to add it to Yvonne's annual moments collection. And if it doesn't turn out cute, I'm blaming Dejong's terrible lighting, not my skills. It appears we have similar tastes in music, Endman. That means you can swing by my lab and enjoy my latest vinyl once it arrives. After all, good music gets even better with good company. Maximizing machine performance was never the intention. Nope. My goal is to provide users with a panic-free and idiot-proof experience. Giving them a good laugh would be the cherry on top. After all, tools should make life easier, not harder. Endman, can you lend me your Originium arts? Precision controls over Originium circuitry would grant me tons of design options. For example, I've always wanted to give Frosty Bitey a heating module. Oh, that sounds magnifique! Oh, wait. If it heats things up, it won't be frosty anymore.
Yeah. Frosty Bitey will need to be Flary Bitey.
I was 3 when I first read about you in some popular book about science. It said you're a legend with tons of responsibilities. But the real you is surprisingly, cute, I guess. Oh, you probably don't want to know how they illustrated you in those unlicensed copies. It's better to keep you in the dark.
When I first took over my baby bot project, the prototype was just humongous. They couldn't even fit the thing inside the vehicle hangar. Guess the UWST wanted a heavy industrial rig on wheels for neutralizing major globs of blight. But what about people who have to deal with blight creeping up their homes? Wait around and pray for the giant Wooster rig to show up? Oh, come on! Someone's gotta carry out miniaturization studies. So I spent months in the science park working on that. The results totally speak for themselves. The events that followed proved my decision to be incredibly wise. Fabulous music, exhilarating concerts, chic fashion, the beautiful sunrises and sunsets over the Telosian horizon. I actually know that everything I love is teetering on the edge of destruction. It's the reason why I became an Endfielder. I want to do something, and ensure that the fragile beauty of our world lives on. I mean, I haven't had enough fun yet, so I'm not gonna let this world end on my watch. If you ask me, I'll choose a TGCC city in the band for quality of life. But for work, hell no. Corporate practice requires employees to clock in 6 times a day. Can you imagine that?
6 times a day? What are they doing?
Now, this one's from the Witching Hour. I just love their style. They get their design elements from all sorts of things, even the texture and grain of anguloid carapace. Danger is just so much more, enticing. Don't you agree, Endmin? Yvvonne is a Gallian name. Father told me that we inherited a great legacy, and everyone in the family was pretty proud of that. But I don't exactly share their sentiments. Terra is far enough away already, and that ancient empire was long gone. What's so important about pedigrees or bloodlines anyway? And then there's this guy called Corsi something the First. Was he really that great to begin with?
No, probably not. He was the last monarch of Gaul, so you know, probably not the best.
This? Well, I just swapped out the thermal furnace connector in the lab. Compatibility with an instant noodle cooker was purely coincidental. I'm telling you, this is legit technical V&V. Don't look at me like I'm some lazy bum. Oh, fine. I'll share some with you. And you won't tell Perliker about this, right? I've actually interned at the TGCC, HAS, and UWST. But the Endfield HR division gave me an offer that I simply couldn't refuse. Unrestricted access to the Endfield databank on everything Etherside. They even highlighted this particular line. Access authority level shall be on par with that of the administrator.
Whoa. What the? She has the same authority as us?
We hardly know anything about the Etherside. It might be a completely dark place, or a realm of absolute chaos. As of now, blight phenomena are the only things we can observe. They come in all sorts of weird colors, like the conventional laws governing the optical spectrum don't even apply. Truth be told, having spent so much time studying them, I can't help but feel they're actually quite enthralling. I visit quite a few TGCC cities every year. Alloy Carrot is where I get my materials and equipment, and New Rankwood's Film Festival is where I do some serious movie binging. But if I'm talking about my favorite city, it has to be Yursh. Surprised, huh? I love their snow, their open skies, and their quiet serenity. Terran Retro is something that my grandparents listened to when they were teens. What's in right now is Neo-Telosian. I love the song Stereo. We're Talosians, born and raised. Of course we're gonna drop jams that are Talos too legit. When I was a child, my parents were really busy, and there was no one else around, so they gave me a foul beast as a playmate. It was loud, bad-tempered, and kept messing up my room. But I really loved that creature. You probably guessed, it was the inspiration for my Tweety Bomb. Though my Tweety Bombs make a lot less noise, they inherited the foul temper of that cute ball of feathers. I actually never intended to stay at Valley 4 when I first arrived 3 years ago. But Professor Crow showed me some Rift data readings from the Ether test site. Got me hooked right there and then. Shame we couldn't agree on anything after that. Total research meltdown. Old Crow couldn't beat me, so he sent me to Andre instead. Guess what? My project started spitting out solid results with that sweet Endfield tech support. I was chugging out papers left and right for 3 years straight. Valley 4 is truly my special zone of fortune. Such fluid, effervescent glittering. I've always wanted my nails varnished like that.
Of all the characters who could have given us something about Arlene, that's all she says. Come on, Yvonne. Whatever. Nothing new from the Ether stuff, really. Nothing really new about her character either. I guess if you're a prominent story character, we probably already know everything we will know about them for a while. But what about Last Rite? Maybe we'll get some cool Seshka lore. Or Naxera. Expertise, massive collaterals. At least she's efficient if you're willing to overlook the cleanup and repair fees. Expertise, fortitude, needs double the nom nom, but gives 5 times the power. Who wrote that? Marvin, did you write that? Hobbies, portable pacifiers. When her anxiety gets excessive, Last Rite would play with these little things. They work far better than getting someone to talk to her. Hobbies, community service. Last Rite prefers taking care of the sick or harvesting grain instead of swinging weapons around. Date of birth, November 12th, Oropathy positive. She is authenticated from Seshka. Excellent strength, standard combat skill, normal tactical acumen, redacted Oranginium arts assimilation. That's our first redacted character. What do we have to hide nowadays? Document records from a logistics operator. Miss Last Rite accidentally damaged several training machines during testing. From the perspective of the logistics division, the scope of damage she inflicted is still within reasonable limits. But to put it simply, there are other operators who inflict greater losses during routine inspection. Hence, we wonder if you can help inform Miss Last Rite that there is no need for her to keep delivering handwritten letters of apology to us, or actively avoiding members of our division, for that matter. Document assertion log that requires sufficient authority level. Adelheide's, I guess that's her name, Adelheide's Oranginium arts should only get an excellent rating. However, when its Nathzera attempts bashfully to the manipulation of death, everyone at the scene witnessed a shadowy figure behind the curtain. It felt cold, ancient, grand, and serene. It was a discomforting experience, though Instructor Mays tried to soothe my concerns. What is Seshka trying to hide? Interesting. Okay. Got something big going on with Last Rite. Make sure that's Adelhide. It's a hide and not a heed. I think it's hide. Hade, maybe? Adelhade? No, it is Adelhide. That other place lied to me for a second there. Anyway, Operator Last Rite, Human Resources Summary. ID name Adelhide. Is a special brand ambassador for Seshka. Brand ambassador? She's now working under the Specialist Tech Division, following recommendations from a bridge builder Fleming, senior business consultant of Witching Hour. If this is your first time meeting with Last Rite, consider a relaxed and friendly approach. Treat her temporary silence or avoidance with understanding and acceptance. Last Rite is not skilled at dealing with strangers, but attending to the meeting with a few snacks or candies at hand will actively build her trust in you. And please avoid getting too close to her when she panics, as this is extremely hazardous. If she sees you getting wounded due to the resulting accident, her panic attack will only escalate. Marvin Mullen, HR. File 1. The internship mission was a success. She's far more committed than we thought. The girl literally commands to the letter. Also, can we ask the business office to convey this to Seshka? Reading ad lines to beasts in Agloy doesn't achieve anything. We are really happy that Operator Last Rite helped clean out the mountain of chores that slowly built itself up over time, but can someone tell her that this is a buffet-style canteen? No one's going to be charged extra for big appetites. Specialized emergency ice melter sprays are now available. We got plenty in store, so grab what you need. Now, we know that Last Rite gives off freezing gases when she panics. I guess it'd be nice if you people can stop triggering her panic attacks. Last Rite is getting on pretty well with the other patients on the rehab center, and she believes that volunteer work can help her with her stress relief. Chew on this, people. Why is she feeling stressed? In any case, do not tell any of our patients that Last Rite is an undertaker. It is unnecessary and will have a lot of explaining to do if word gets out. HR Division Operator Bulletin. The girl was so stressed and embarrassed she inched towards the dustbin to conceal herself. Relax, girl. Everyone says you're really friendly and easy to get along with. File 2. In the beginning, children at the Den of the Brave always poked fun at Adelhide. No one really knew the girl who lived so far away. She was shy, introverted, dressed in boring clothing, slow to react, and never caught the ball during conversations. Biggie Tom started by bad-mouthing her at every turn. He wanted her out of the children's secret base, but Tom eventually relented because of 2 reasons. The grown-ups respected the Cabernet couple who adopted Adelhide, and even though she was teary-eyed and sniveling, she never forgot about stuffing herself with apple peels and turnip leaves. Everything changed in that atrocious summer. The rains poured in June, the entire place was flooded, and the bandits were finally evicted after a grueling battle. The ordeal left scars upon 5 families who lost their loved ones. The unsuspecting children followed the procession to the suburbs, and they saw her atop the hills. Adelheid, except it was not the little crybaby they knew. They saw the girl and her family cleaning out the resting places, cleaning the headstones, and offering elegies to the deceased. It was not until the coffin was laid to rest when the children finally realized that Tom would no longer return to the den of the brave. Instead of fear, it was panic and denial that spread. The children could not accept the machinations of fate and failed to figure out a way to make up for the missing position. It was then that Adelheid placed a simple wooden statuette before Tom's grave. It was very roughly carved, crooked and imbalanced, and unpolished. He always wanted a figurine of a competition knight, the girl said. That would be Tom's final wish. The grown-ups failed to control their tears again. They lamented the death of a life so innocent and young. But the children tried not to laugh as the statuette looked nothing like a competition knight. In the end, they bore it no longer and burst out laughing. They took out their knight cards and discussed how to make the statuette more knight-like. Although Adelheid failed to follow their conversation and the task of carving the figurine fell to a more dexterous companion, the children would always hand the new and much improved statuette into Adelheid's hands, for she was tasked with leading their own procession into the cemetery and perform the annual ceremony. Tom is right here, the girl promised every year. No one knew how Adelheid was so certain about this, or how she learned of Tom's wishes. Nobody seemed to care about how she performed her work. In the end, Adelheid did not break her shell. She remained rather inept at expressing herself. Every time her tummy rumbled, she became so embarrassed she would start inching to a nearby dustbin. But whenever new kids arrive in town and start talking about the strange girl humming songs in the bushes, someone would tap them on the shoulder and give them a quiet story. File 3. This was Adelheid's first culture shock. Seshka, the Stop, the capital of witchcraft, the Circassian hub, the gathering spot of vagabonds. It was a city of names, and she heard plenty of them. However, it was not until she alighted from the dirigible and stepped onto Seshka proper when she realized that flight was the most insignificant feature of this strange realm. The entire place seemed to be a never-ending stream of carnivals. Rite was engraved into the air itself. The decorative furnace was adorned with that adorned the central plaza spewed waves of heat, clamor, and tons of laughter. Every street was lined with strange shops and signs. People rubbed shoulders in the crowd, chewing food names that defy even the most dexterous tongues as they marched for the formation of giant figurines looming in the distance. Rumors spoke of a fighting arena as well as a fairground featuring Circassian culture. Meticulously prepared for tourists when Seshka made itself available to them. However, the purpose of this administrative division seems rather limited when Seshka itself was already like a giant theme park. Adelheid's stomach started rumbling again. They need to have a doctor check on her stomach. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to accept that wandering peddler's invitation. She heard about the witching hour, but she could never afford anything from this manufacturer. She only needed a broom to chase away the beasts back home. Like Seshka itself, the concept of proper weapons felt foreign and distant, but I only flipped a truck toppled by the alloy so it got back on the wheels. Why would anyone recommend me a job opportunity for that? Adelheid started to wonder, what could she possibly do at this place? The peddler was far away, handling some registration procedure, stringing syllables and words that she could not understand. She suddenly realized that she knew nothing about the Sarkaz, despite being one herself. And is that powerful mercenary a Goliath? A man wore pendants dangling from his sharp ears. Did they mean anything? Everything was new. The peddler explained that her constant sense of hunger was a racial trait as well, but knowing this did not solve the problem. According to the Circassian standards, her stubborn refusal to feed properly made her one of the least qualified to talk about the rebellious nature of this city. Yeah, so, she is a Noxera, which means that, you know, culturally they've got a bit of cannibalism. And so I guess maybe that's, she's not feeding properly is that. And I was wondering about her name being Adelheid, but it makes sense that she was adopted by a Capernae, who I guess were maybe Lytonian Capernae, so she has a Lytonian name. Her stomach rumbled louder. Every time she felt afraid or helpless, impulse would find its way in and make it harder to control herself. And this was worse than usual. If someone asks how should she answer, it would be inappropriate to say, "Sorry, I just don't feel like being a Noxera." There was still a chance to escape. The peddler's route would pass through a few more towns and villages. She would always apologize later. It would be best to find a place to hide and wait for the constant sideways glances to ease off. "What's happening to you?" The voice jolted her back from her increasingly sticky sense of anxiety. The lad tilted his head, his gaze more curious and confused. "There's free bread over there, just tell the guards before you grab one, and there's also a pamphlet with a list of jobs. That's free too." I'm sorry, I'm actually alright." She tried to get her breathing under control and ease the trembling out of her voice. "I'm just waiting for someone." "Okay," the lad sniveled. "But you don't have to worry, plenty of opportunities here. You'll find something to do. It took me 2 whole weeks as well." The lad was mature for his age and did not seem to believe in her words. Adelheid thought about it, but chose not to argue. His expression seemed to exude strange powers that alleviated her worries. He gave her a pat on the shoulders before blending into the nearby crowd once more. She tried to look. It did not appear like a tourist attraction. Sweaty laborers worked on the scaffold as merchants frowned and wrote out their orders. A few well-dressed individuals flanked by mercenaries walked out of what would seem to be a fancy bistro. Everyone looked busy, yet all of them gave off the same relaxing vibe of that young lad. There were plenty of opportunities, and she would figure something out. She saw the lad running towards the mercenaries, shouting angrily as he bundled their weapons. He was like a shepherd trying to herd a flock of giant half-drunken beasts from their masters into the inn. The lad's tail was short and sharp, reminding her of her foster parents. The girl suddenly remembered the peddler saying something on the dirigible. "We got it to fly because the Sarkaz everywhere were facing difficulties. But when it started flying, we realized that plenty of others were facing hard times, not just the Sarkaz. Before it became a flying city of amusements, Seshka was a frontier outpost. Despite being involved with countless legends and serving numerous functions, it was a young outpost facing the unknown in the frontiers where humanity strove to build a new home. Life will always find a way. The outpost does not need to house everyone, it just needs to be a stop, and that would be enough." And thus, after more than 10 minutes of shock and awe, Adelheid began diverting her attention to the streets. Her eyes rested upon a massive pile of roasted stock beef fillet, glistening with grease. It was salty, so salty that it sent her heart racing wildly. Okay. No, I thought that was the last file for a second. File 4. Why? The legendary senior business consultant of Seshka, one of the lead brand managers of the Witching Hour, the downtrodden Sarkaz merchant, bridge builder Fleming, was taken aback by this simple question. Though it came right out of the blue, Fleming quickly regained his cool, tidied his tie, and started counting the stars as he readied himself for the banter. The feline who stood before him always made him tingle with a strange nervousness, ever since that snowy night. First thing first, we genuinely appreciate Enfield's acceptance of Adelheid. Seshka hereby extends its most sincere gratitude. Good, that means you'll pay extra for additional catering fees, right? Trust me, sending her to Enfield is considered a loss for our business. Oh, you have a slogan for last Rite, the Princess of the War Court? Very loud and attention-grabbing, must have made you a fortune. Fleming laughed. He usually laughs as a means of dealing with his opponents on the negotiating table, but at this moment, he was laughing to give himself a chance to breathe. M3 paid no attention to Fleming's peculiarities. Her gaze was reserved for Adelheid, seated uncomfortably outside the office. Last Rite herself. Fleming sensed M3's curiosity. He cannot afford to miss the opportunity to regain his initiative. I was not expecting M3 to be here. What do you think of Miss Last Rite? I think she's hungry, M3 said without averting her gaze from the girl in the question. Fleming tried to remember things. Rumors speak of the feline's ties with the origins of Kasdal, and she hardly paid this much attention to other talents he recommended. How could you let such a lovely girl starve? I swear, I think you need to pay an additional catering fee to Endfield Industries. Maybe we should set this sum to... I swear this is for the best. Fleming immediately realized that he had slipped. His opponent was simply trying to muddy the waters. No. She was just having a friendly banter. Why did he suddenly break his composure? And why is that? A Nachzera in a cemetery with an extreme shame of consuming. She has consistently refused to touch the deaths of others. Her constant hunger is only a natural consequence. No, you got it all wrong. M3 maintained her coy, relaxed tone, but that was not the worst for Fleming. What stressed him out more was the fact that she had not smiled ever since he stepped aboard De Jong. You know the sarcasm, no amount of roasted steak fillets could fill an empty soul. Soul? You believe in souls? Every sarcasm who benefited from the protection of the myriad souls believes in them. I'm sure the myriad souls will be happy to know that. M3 moved her gaze away from the girl. She hesitated, a rare opportunity. But Fleming did not treat this as a good sign. But the time does not match. I understand, it took place over a century ago. Nevertheless, Adelheid is definitely a young girl of only 17 or 18 years. Right, so why... Fleming kept his bitter smile inside. Nevertheless, he decided to confront this question directly. I don't know, but like you said, she remains very hungry. Even with that thing following her around, that's practically unheard of. That generally surprised Fleming, if only a little. Find it rather astonishing that there are things you have not heard about. Fleming immediately regretted it when those words blurted out of his mouth. Thankfully, M3 was not in the leisurely mood to interpret his verbal mishap as a taunt. A vast land has perished in her shadow. Millennia worth of winters heed her beck and call, yet she remains hungry. It's the blood. We found other Nachzera. So many deaths are birthed upon this planet every day, we have no desire to see another war court appear without warning. But this child is obviously an exception. She has not been fed because she respects every crewmate, messenger, and soldier who died in the frontiers. She could not bring herself to do it. In fact, she refuses to do it. Then how did her power... Though she did not consume the dead to strengthen herself, death remains willing to assist her. That Wendigo friend of yours gave this assessment. Nej Shalem would be extremely moved if he were here. Nej Shalem mentioned? Heck yeah. But that also means a child is destined to take on burdens that shouldn't be hers. I suppose this is the actual reason you recommended her to Endfield? If Adelheid hopes to take upon a path of her choice, I believe Endfield Industries will be her best instructor. M3 was obviously taken aback. Fleming himself was also stunned by her reaction. He knew that M3 never expected him to give such a soft and compassionate answer. However, he also did not expect M3 to had judged him so poorly. It was a depressing realization for the merchant and consultant. Well, Fleming, perhaps you are kinder than I thought. Those words allowed Fleming's confidence to return. And that is also your kindest evaluation of my character. For all these years we've known each other, Miss M3. M3 sighed. It would seem she finally allowed herself to relax. Now, how would you like Endfield to treat her? The usual, Fleming smiled from the bottom of his heart for the first time in this dialogue. Let her do what she wants, like a normal child. Let her live, get into trouble, grow up, and earn her keep. It would be wonderful if she gets to make a few friends and discover what she wants out of life. Treating her as your own? Me. My blood's too poor for her. Fleming also shifted his gaze to the window. Adelheid was already getting overwhelmed by other Endfield operators trying to start a conversation with her. But before Talos II forces humanity to the brink of extinction, before death completely fashions her bloodied throne, And before the next sovereign of the Noxera is forced to manifest upon this planet, she simply remains as a shy, little, sarcastic girl. So... she has the powers of the Noxera sovereign, I guess, is what they're calling it. Even though she's never actually eaten anyone. That explains why M3 was here as well. And of course they're like worried, like we don't. So obviously she's a pure-blooded Noxera. They found other Noxeras. It seems like maybe they're pretty rare now. Maybe, I guess, after the Victorian Kazdal War, I guess maybe a lot of Noxeras were killed, right? So that maybe they're pretty rare, especially on Talos too. But the bloodline, the pure bloodline, still exists and it is cropping up. And they are like, yeah, we don't really want the war court to appear again, right? But she seems to have that power, so they're gonna watch over her. I think this is our biggest character, I think, so far. Not expecting that.
I can do this. It's just one line. Yes, be confident. Hey, Endman. It's great today, right? Oh no, it's so crowded. What if someone comes up to me? I should just go curl up in a crate. Oh, would you happen to know where we can report damages? Oh, I smashed the training cabin again.
I think we're safe though.
Could I lean on you for a sec? I just need to grab some hardtack. I'm okay. Just a little hungry. Personal stereo, Omni toolkit, basic arts unit. Oh, it's just a shopping list. These things are really hard to get in my hometown. Thankfully, a few colleagues at the logistics office offered to pick them up along the way. They're so nice to me. Endman, can I post some flyers in Dijon? Seshka gave me a load of promotional work. If I don't meet my KPI, they'll drag me back for special training.
Also, the fact that Seshka is apparently like this weird corporate amusement park is not what I expected from them either.
Endman, is it true they have a house made entirely of candy in New Rankwood? Can I get a few days of leave to stay at that place? And don't worry, I'll chew through enough things to get our money's worth. Oh, it's just an ad?
That was such a creepy laugh.
Dark circles around my eyes? Oh, I'm taking courses on first aid and basic crop disease prevention, so I started sleeping less. But they're really useful. Chopping things to tiny bits with a sword won't fix all our problems. That's definitely a no-no. The only problem is, lessons on the arts of restoration are so hard. Last Rite. Witching Hour pegged this codename on me. Since I'm a Noxaher and worked as an undertaker back home, they wanted a name that highlighted the product features. But I'm not the product. It's this outfit. And the last rites are somber ceremonies meant for the departed. Why would they use it in such a laughable manner? Endman, can I ask you to write another letter of protest for me? Please?
That's crazy that Seshka is actually just a big, like, corporation.
People keep joking about me letting myself go hungry, and I kinda know why. But using my innate Noxaher abilities would disturb the dead. The chances are slim, but I forbid it. I haven't figured out everything due to the complexity of our witchcraft. So I choose not to tap into my powers. That is the safest course of action. There's something I must share with you, Endman. I don't care what happens after I do. Well, you must know that Seshka grossly overpackaged me. They just named me Princess of the Battle Court without asking. I never wanted to lie to you. I'm truly sorry. Maybe I should just resign. What? Wait. You knew this all along? And you're okay with it? I really wish I could use my blade like the other operators. Everybody's got beautiful sets of stances, hues, and guards. I tried copying their moves, but somehow kept throwing my sword away by accident. I guess I can only fight with wild, instinctive swings. Wait, my swings are beautiful too? Oh, I don't know about that, but I guess that's very kind of you. Many races do mention some kind of spirit that lingers after death. My parents taught me many prayer rituals, and I used to perform every last one of them at the cemetery, back home on a daily basis. Oh yeah, I've heard of a Sarkaz type called the Revenants. It was said they could worm themselves into all sorts of carcasses and reanimate them. Wait, are you trying to tell me a horror story? No. I can't hear you! Why Why does everyone play tricks on me? The kids back home either called me Nom Nom or Little Miss Confused. Senior Endfielders also kept giving me funny names. I need to figure out how to look more authoritarian. Oh, I have an idea. I can wear a mask like the Endmen. How do I look if I talk to people with this on? What? It's too scary? Oh, fine. I took the operator's standard test. I crushed the fitness part, but the technical stuff, well, let's just say Supervisor Perlica ended up passing me anyway. I've been doing remedial training since then. Oh, and about that old gent who handed me the contract at the floating city, Perlica said he was trying to protect me. I don't really know what she meant, but Perlica is always right. Seshka has always safeguarded the Sarkaz knowledge and devices of witchcraft. But there are so few Noxehers on Talus too. Many warring techniques, once passed down through the generations, were lost to time. According to our scholars, many Noxehers fought upon the battlefields of Terra, and they sustained war itself by absorbing the power of fallen comrades. I don't think we need to do that anymore, right? I have a frigid aura I could barely contain. The frigidity would seep out of me if I'm not careful. Nevertheless, it's a power that I'm more comfortable with.
Alright, Last Rite's stuff might be the best so far. Like, the way it's written is, it gives you a good sense of like, place she comes from, right? It gives you, they took a whole dialogue to like explain a bit about like what the Noxera are and like what's going on with that. It's a good level of detail. It's not too much. It's not overboard in that regard, but it does give you enough to answer the basic questions and set up the character and also help world build. Hers might be the best one, because other ones are like, there's so many questions that they don't describe, and they just keep rehashing like the same single character trait every time, and then yeah, this is good.
Seshkamam instructors told me that a proper Noxeher uses witchcraft to master the frost. And I wasn't being proper because my frigidity kept seeping out of me. Well, I'm really good at checking my urges to absorb the dead. The downside is that I get hungry easily. No, I'm alright. I burn through food pretty fast. In fact, I've been eating midnight snacks for a while now, but somehow I've still lost weight. Oh, Endman, was everyone staring at me just now? You hardly see outfits like mine? It's a prototyping loadout from the witching hour. They want me to wear this during combat to collect some, test data, I guess. But wonder why they hired me for this. Anyway, this outfit's fabulous. It's light, sturdy, and even dries your hair after a shower. But the user manual for combat mode is a brick of a book, and it's hard to memorize everything.
It dries your hair? Dang.
I remember everyone buried in the cemetery my family tended. The elderly, the unfortunate babe, the mercenary from another town, the stranger with rock disease. Each of them had a final wish. During the rites, those who came to say goodbye would speak those wishes aloud. And beneath their words, I could feel what the departed truly longed for. They weren't asking anyone to fulfill their wishes. They just wanted to be heard. Remembering their wishes was the only thing I could do. As my mom said, a wish that lingers behind is proof they once lived. Witching Hour has to tweak my combat outfit from time to time. So I often make trips to the floating city. When Seshka gets far enough from other cities, they retract the touring facilities, and the place goes really quiet. The caravaneer who introduced me to Endfield said that Seshka roams Talus too, bearing crews of mercenaries and witchcrafters. Their goal is to connect and support Sarkaz communities around the world. But if I'm being honest, they feel less like a charity and more like a profiteering venture.
Yeah?
Dad said that the TGCC dug several wells in our old place many years ago. But a senior Endfielder just told me that Endfield was the one that led the entire project. Anyway, quite a few families moved in after we had access to water. After that, the caravaneers began visiting our place. One of them told me I could try my luck at Seshka, and that was how I met everyone at Endfield. Maybe this was an act of fate. It began when I was still a very little girl. I would occasionally hear a voice talking to me. She sounded tired and exhausted, and probably slept most of the time. None of her children rested in our cemetery. I believe they were further north. And whenever I would go hungry, she would hold me close and comfort me. But in recent years, she slept longer and longer and sounded even weaker than before. Oh, I really hope there's something I can do to help.
And then they give us a thing that sets up some questions for the future. What do you mean you heard a voice?
It began when I was still
Someone
very
comforting
little
you
girl.
whose children are from the north.
I would occasionally hear a voice talking to me. She sounded tired and exhausted.
I thought it was gonna be the sovereign powers of Noxera, but that doesn't seem like it's the case, so I don't know what that is.
It's so beautiful. Oh, sorry. I'm done gathering it.
Yeah, Last Rite's profile was very well written. Makes me actually interested in the character, having had nothing about her, no interest until now. Pretty cool. Pretty good. That leaves us with Ember, Zaihi, Dapon, Snowshine. Four plus Zhang, so 5. Pretty good. 5 more. That's good. 1, 2. One more of these and we'd be caught up pretty much.
Where should we go next?
That's all for now. I'd say we could maybe do it again tomorrow, but Zhang's not gonna be ready yet. She's at 145. We could just skip her, but we'll see. Good stuff. That's all for now. We'll be back with actual Endfield things next week. Actual new update there. So until then, thank you all for watching, and may the sands of time treat you well.